can't be real. I think he might have the strong on finally. Ethan Warren gives him no space. He's in the wall, Turn 4, he's taken out Bruce Dean as well. Oh, big moment there, Kurt Stenberg on his roof. Big crash at turn 4, that is an unfortunate huge crash. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the very first round of the 2022 Automobilista Supercars Championship, coming to you live tonight from Sydney Motorsport Park. My name is Alistair Schmidt, better known as Stairs, and it is my absolute delight to welcome Madbird, otherwise known as Liam Harrison, to the commentary box.
Those are my two most used names. Thank you very much, Stairs. Welcome along, everybody, to the first race of the 2022 Automobilista Supercars Championship season here at Sydney Motorsport Park, a track we know very, very well. And for two races here tonight, Stairs, one during the day and one during the night.
We do indeed have a split day type of event, a 19 lap race in the night and a 38 lap race in the day. So we're going to get quite a bit of variety. We've got the commentary cam back for tonight, so good to have that along for this particular event, and we're looking forward to bringing all of that to you tonight, Madbird.
Fantastic. I wish I'd combed my beard. In hindsight, wearing a mask messes with your facial hairs, but, you know, I could look worse. I could look like him.
Oh, so. Excellent. We've also got the driver cam back, so a couple of our drivers tonight have been nice enough to share their webcams with us, Madbird. So during the night, we'll be able to check in with them. This is Luke Rosella on the left of your screen. He can't hear us.
No.
Madbird, he can't hear us, but boy, oh boy, well, he might hear us on a 30-second delay.
Him. Oh, there he is.
He might be able to hear us on a 30-second delay or so.
If he's watching the stream,
if he is
absolutely.
Watching, give us a wave.
Well, we'll wait and see in 30 seconds' time.
But we can't be sitting there waiting for the wave for 30
goodness
seconds.
Me, no.
So.
Yes, been nice enough or foolish enough to share their webcams with us. So he's having a hard chat with someone. No, I think he's making a point. It looks like Mussolini in the balcony.
Should we cut away from that?
Yeah, looks like a personal moment. Here we see Ethan Warren, a driver we haven't seen in quite a little while, I was about to say.
Apart from winning the last race in Bathurst.
But in terms of regular season races,
yes,
we didn't see him at all last season, I want to say. Or if we did, it wouldn't have been very
That's
regularly.
Right. He had 100% strike rate in terms of races entered and races won. So he teamed up with Colin Warwick for that race, and they didn't really have a huge amount of an opportunity to practice in that car, so he did a very, very solid job. A lot of drivers actually tonight joining us that we haven't seen for quite some time.
It's good to see him back.
It is. So Thomas McMillan, you might see him there in 5th place. He is reviving the Pleb Sim Sports livery. We'll see if we can catch up with him if he's on track. Looks like he's just coming to the racetrack now. There he is in the VB livery, and on the bonnet there you can see a memorial to the late Shane Warne. That very shocking and just still unbelievable news coming through on the weekend that the king of spin is no more, Madbird.
Yeah, I'm not a cricket person, but even I was sort of taken aback when I saw it, and I think, who was Rod Marsh?
Rod Marsh.
The day before.
And actually it was who I thought the article was about when I was reading that Shane Warne the words weren't making sense. I thought it was Shane Warne saying something about Rod Marsh that I was reading. But nonetheless, as I gradually woke up with this news on my phone, it started to
52
come
years
clear.
Old. Really not very old at all, which is sad.
It is very, very sad, and I mean, case in point, you knew about him. A lot of people I've heard talking about him who aren't particularly fans of cricket, he transcended that. And, you know, he's got lots of other very famous teammates, but nowhere near as famous as he was. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
And of course, I know him best from his appearance on Kath and Kim. And I imagine Sharon Strzelecki is absolutely devastated.
Well, she is actually. And so is Magda Szubanski, who played Sharon Strzelecki. I saw a post on Instagram from her this week. So, yeah, very, very sad news. So hopefully, and of course, there's a lot of other very difficult things happening in the world at the moment with the floods over in far north New South Wales and Queensland, and of course the situation over in Ukraine at the moment. So quite a trying time off the back of what was, I guess, a relatively easy 2 years of a global pandemic. So our thoughts go out to everyone affected by all of these ghastly things.
Yeah, absolutely. And what better way to take your mind off it than watching some cracking pretend racing for a couple of hours? So let's put all of the crap behind us for the next couple of hours and just enjoy some excellent pretend racecraft.
We got Corey McFarlane. He joins us again after a very strong debut last year, and he is a driver who's only been sim racing for a couple of years, really. So he's up to speed really, really quickly. Quite a young guy, and so he burst onto the scene last year with a couple of wins, and so he could be a challenger this year, along with people like Luke Rosello, who we saw winning quite a few races last year. I think really a coming-of-age year for Luke Rosello, and I think Corey McFarlane, this could be a coming-of-age year for him.
Well, yeah, absolutely rapid, his pace. As you can see, he's second in the timesheets at the moment in practice, and he's not exactly amongst, anonymous other drivers. He's ahead of Kurt Stenberg, ahead of Thomas Millen, ahead of Dane Warren, who has appeared. I imagine that won't last for too much longer, and only second to Ethan Warren at the moment. So he's definitely got some pace. And as you say, Luke Rosello had a bit of a breakout season last time in 2021. So be excited to see him take his racing to even higher heights, if that's not a weird phrase, which I feel like it might be.
You mentioned Dane Warren. Here he is for the VRS Commander Sim Sport car, the number 57. He hasn't raced since his championship year in 2020, so it's great to see Dane Warren back. He had a very busy year last year. He actually jetted off for the virtual Le Mans towards the end of last year, competing overseas, so a huge congratulations for him. That was a massive field stacked with a lot of big names, not just in sim racing, but in the real life racing world, jumping into that. And so it was good to see him there, but it's also good to see him back.
Yeah, definitely. And probably a little bit of trepidation amongst the rest of the field seeing him back, because he was absolutely ruthless in season 2020 in terms of his pace. Pretty much, he won more races than he didn't, that's for sure. And I think he was on the podium for every single race of the season, which is significant. But, a year out of Automobilista does handle a little bit differently to your iRacings and so on. So who knows? It might take him a little bit to sort of ease himself back into things. But I imagine it won't take too long for him to be scrapping at the top of the field once again.
Potentially. He had a very, very strong tilt at Bathurst with with Kurt Stenberg, as our server just glitches for a moment. Let's hope that issue doesn't continue in the race itself. But it was Ethan Warren, his brother, together with Colin Warwick, who won that 2020 Bathurst, backing it up last year in 2021. So that's the one thing I think that Dane Warren will be aiming to rectify this year is winning Bathurst, and time will tell whether he does elect to compete. He didn't do last year's Bathurst 1000 for ASC, but one would think there's a sense of unfinished business there, especially since his brother Ethan has now won it twice.
Yeah, a little bit of rivalry probably, fraternal rivalry between the two. We always see their father coming into the chat and saying that he's off to smack him around the head and offer $50 to whoever does the best. So I imagine that there's a fair bit of competition in that household. So Ethan holding the cookies in that particular respect might irk Dane a little bit.
That's right, and of course our hellos to Blair Warren and the rest of the Warren family, if they are indeed watching tonight. Good to see both of your sons back in this series.
All the occupants of the Warren, like Rabbit Warren.
I see. Yeah. Moving on to Jared Filsell, racing under the moniker of JF. Now, this is another very, very rapid sim racer, but not one who's graced us with his presence too often. But Jared Filsell has done the odd race for ASC, so he's not a total newcomer. Racing in the Brody Kostecki livery there. Good to see another titan of sim racing here in the opening round of the Automobilista Supercars Championship.
Yeah, definitely. Has only shown up for, I reckon, one or two other ASC races in the past, one of which he won. So he's definitely, it's not unknown for him to just show up and win a race and then disappear for the next, however long it is. But it's definitely good to see some class appearing for the first round of the season. Alex Cattle.
He's in the garage, so for unknown reasons we've cut to him. Let's go back to Jared Filsell and we'll see actually who else we can pick up in this particular field. We've got Dane Liccardo there running the Evolution Racing Team number 35. That's come up quite nice, I think.
Very nice livery.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool power colours, I approve.
We saw Dane Liccardo last year in the Automobilista Supercars Bathurst 1000 among quite a few other... as we just see Jared Filsell spinning into the wall there. So that was quite a mammoth moment there for Jared Filsell. We'll see if we can pick up just exactly what happened there. Here is the replay coming down into turn one, Madbird. He was ahead of Dane Warren just on track there.
I reckon he might go a little bit wide, yep.
Yep, two wheels on the grass.
Definitely more than a little bit. All four wheels off into the grass. Does well to, he didn't really have much control over it, but well done to Dane Warren for keeping his cool going through turn two there.
And back into the pits for Jared Filsell.
It's an exceptionally ugly vehicle.
That's the 27 car of Sean Allen there. So Sean Allen, who is making a bit of a return to this series.
Good to see.
It is fantastic to see. We'll see if we can catch up with Sean Allen, as we're just seeing here Hans Brunswick recovering to the racetrack. So what exactly has happened there? Looks like a bit of an off-track excursion. Or maybe he was just doing some burnouts.
Just doing some 11s in the AOC branded car there.
Whoops, not sure what's going on there. Just getting used to the controls. But we were talking about Sean Allen, Madbird, who makes his return. And incidentally, the Race on Oz stable is no longer the Race on Oz stable. So we've got Sean Allen and Benjamin Dahlia racing for the same team, but it is now known as AWG Sim Sports, which, according to who you ask, could stand for Aussies Who Game or Australia-wide Gamers. I've asked two people and I've got two different answers on that one, so perhaps they could
elucidate.
Exactly, they could elucidate as we jump into another server. So we'll jump back to us.
Won't we just? So, so good to see Sean Allen back. He had a bit of a break for most of last season. Had a bit of a break until he returned for the last couple of races and the Bathurst 1000. But definitely good to see him back in a more immediate sense. Good to see him back straight away. I see that their Discord channel is still Race on Oz. So there's no clues there.
It's quite raw, actually. The changing of the name. It's quite a recent thing. They were two-time teams championships of this teams champions of this series in 2019 and 2020.
As Race on Oz.
As Race on Oz, they were usurped. Now that was a different pairing. That was Brody Steen and Sean Allen. They've now swapped. They had the satellite cars of Alex Cattle and Benjamin Dahlia join them later on, and those two were the Young Lions, if you like, the satellite team, the Race on Oz 2. But now Benjamin Dahlia moving up to take Brody Steen's spot in the number one, now AWG. Sim Sports team.
We'll one day get an answer.
And Alex Cattle and Brody Steen now occupying the same car. So basically the same as their pairings for last year's Bathurst 1000, except now with totally different liveries.
Benjamin Dahlia showed an absolute turn of pace during the previous season, so it's good to see him getting the bump up to the main team. Obviously, there's no, it's not like Red Bull and Toro Rosso. Oh, sorry, AlphaTauri, where one team, has a lot more in the way of resources. They're both the same. There's no reason that they can't be as successful as each other. But I guess there's sort of the distinction of one being the main team and one being the sister team, as we hop into a 15-minute practice session.
Yep, so we've got qualifying in 15 minutes from now, so they've got one last chance to get practicing, which is a chance for us to catch up with those drivers who we've yet to see on track.
Yeah, I can't say I'm a huge fan of the Sean Allen livery. Can't say that at all.
We haven't had a huge opportunity to dissect it just yet, so maybe hold your fire, Madbird, for a few moments while we see if he's on track. Well, actually, his teammate in Alex Cattle, or I say teammate, he's in the second team for AWG. This is the same livery, so Alex Cattle, Benjamin Dahlia and Sean Allen are all running this livery with the green, yellow and blue.
Very Australian, I'll say that.
Dahlia's sponsorship on the side there as well. So the real differentiator there, of course, is the big 25 there for Alex Cattle. Of course, the number for Sean Allen, 27, and on Benjamin Dahlia's car, it is 26. Brody Steen, though, is running quite a different livery.
Just to make things interesting for us.
That's right. And we're just seeing if he's on track, but it doesn't appear as though he is.
I haven't seen him in the server, no.
Might not actually be in the server, no. So when we do see him, if we do see him tonight, we'll, of course, show you that livery to give you a bit of an idea. There are a few little things to look for when you've got cars that look the same. So this is Ethan Warren for TTR, the same livery as our defending champion Kurt Stenberg. Kurt Stenberg, of course, running the number 1, Ethan Warren in the 59, but Ethan Warren has the purple or pink coloured mirrors and Kurt Stenberg has the orange mirrors.
Yeah, and that number 1 was not particularly lucky for Kurt Stenberg in season 2020.
To say the least.
To say the least. That was the season of Dane Warren's dominance. So the dominance of Dane in 2020 definitely made sure that Kurt was not able to defend his championship.
This is Steve Warwick, so this is a livery that hasn't changed too much. I think it might have been a little bit of an update, but for Warwick Racing, it's a magnificent livery that with the lighter blue. So his son Colin Warwick runs a similar livery, but with black instead of white. So that's certainly welcome from a commentary point of view for us to differentiate the Madbird.
Absolutely. It does get a little bit difficult when you've got too many cars that look the same, which was part of why we were a little bit down on some of the temporary cars that we kept getting last year. But it doesn't look like we've got any temp cars tonight. So
here is the Kurt Stenberg car, so you can see very close up the orange mirrors there as it goes past. So this is the defending champion. So he now has 2 Automobilista Supercars Championships titles. The first one coming in the inaugural year in 2019, that ghastly 2020 year that we just spoke of, and then backing up last year with a very, very dominant championship year in 2021 for Kurt Stenberg. Let's see if he can shake the curse of the number 1.
Hopefully there's a bit more. It looks like there's a fair bit more pace at the top of the field. So even if Dane Warren does return to his abilities, then there might be a little bit more competition at the top to take away points from him. Here is Termo in the Cool Drive Mustang.
Yep. So he's racing under the team name of Termo Motorsport, and so as you mentioned, Madbird, that is Cool Drive. And one of the Mustangs, of course, a car that was built for this series, which is fantastic to see. And it looks like at the beginning of next year, we may well have a Camaro replacing the Commodore as Supercars moves towards Gen 3. But we'll have to find out a bit more info about that as they get closer. Quite a long way to go, of course, and a lot of work required before that happens. But we believe that is the plan, to emulate the real-life championship as much as possible.
Considering how quickly the last couple of years have gone, I reckon January 2023 will be here before we know it, and we'll hopefully have some more details then.
Not too many times on the board yet, but good to see Ben Hall here up into 5th place. Dealing with a bit of traffic there with Hans Brunswick and Zach Baker. Now, Zach Baker, you can see in the back of that shot, that's a livery that hasn't changed.
Some change, some stay the same.
Last year's team champions, ZB,
yes.
Zach Baker and Dave Nidich. Huge congratulations to them.
Absence of Sean Allen meant that Race On Oz weren't able to back up their team's championship from 2021. So
it's true, but ZB was giving them a huge run for their money before Sean Allen took that break. So very much a well-deserved championship from a team's perspective for the ZB guys. And so they've decided, why bother changing the livery if it worked for them that year? Last year, why shouldn't it work this year?
Exactly.
The car on track that you can see there, Ben Hall, I believe he's done quite a bit of racing over in the Automobilista Supercar, the Australasian Sim Racing Championship. And Luke McHugh, you can see there's another tribute on a bonnet for this car. I believe a good mate of Ben Hall's there, who was tragically killed in a car accident, and a memorial to him on the front of that car.
It's a good message.
Absolutely. And doing a little bit of grass tracking for us as he maybe sees his car on the broadcast, who knows.
Giving us a bit of a show.
Exactly.
And we, of course, appreciate it.
RSM Latino, this is the man who was the first guy to do Bathurst solo back in 2019. Now, that's a feat since equalled by Ben Rhodes.
It's still incredible to me. I would definitely put it in the wall somewhere in the first hour, let alone in the 7th. So very, very well done to both of them for achieving that feat. Good to see RSM back once again. Slightly updated livery from last season.
Yeah, he's also part of the Warwick Racing stable, but quite different colours to Steve and Colin.
Club flavours on the side there.
Yeah, not quite too sure what that is. But,
a gentleman's club.
I can take a guess,
perhaps,
based on what it looks like. And RSM Latino doing a good job there. Let's see who else we can catch up with. Here's Pratt for Green Top Motorsport with the Dare Ice Coffee sponsorship on the side of the car. What's that? What's that?
That's not Farmers Union iced coffee.
I've heard a rumour that it's actually owned by the same company though.
Oh, it probably
as Dare, so
yeah. But they like to perpetuate the rivalry regardless, because. But
it doesn't stop the fact that Dare Ice Coffee doesn't taste any good.
No, exactly.
I say as a parochial, one-eyed South Australian.
I'm going to do a bit of research on that. I'll get back to you.
While you do that, let's have a look at Aidan Sykes for Syncom Motorsport, the number 15 there. That's quite a nice livery. I've seen similar variations of this livery from Aidan Sykes in the past, but it looks like it's gone through a little bit of an update, and I like the texture. I really do. So good to see that car on track, and good to see Aidan Sykes on track as well.
It's a good looking car. I actually quite like it.
We've also got Cameron Parrott. Now, Cameron Parrott joined us last year for a few races, and I believe there's a bit of a Canadian connection here, because he's got the team name of Maple Leaf Motorsports and Tim Hortons emblazoned on the side of the car. So
Tim Hortons, eh?
I think, that's... and Canadian Tire on the bonnet, I should say. Let's see what else we can find. Little Easter eggs for this Canadian car.
It's an incredible livery. I'm actually a big fan of that.
It is good, actually. I like beige and red for some reason. I didn't know that I did, but until I saw this car.
Until this moment, yeah. Just the Tim Hortons.
Tim Hortons, eh? We'll get some Timbits. And then we'll go for a rip.
We'll just pull into the Tim Hortons parking lot.
I spent a few months in Canada. Our viewers might not know, Madberg, but I did enjoy Tim Hortons quite a lot while I was there.
Well, I don't even know what... Is it just like
it's like a coffee shop, donut shop sort of thing.
Like Dunkin' Donuts for America, or, I don't know, Muffin Break for us.
Yeah, kind
Yeah.
of like that.
But obviously a lot more successful.
They have these things called Timbits, which are basically just like donut balls, and they're very Moorish.
That sounds excellent.
Yeah.
Have you been to anybody who lives in the Adelaide area? This is a very similar looking car that we have on our other monitor, or that we had on our other monitor, in the sense that it's sort of a off-white and red, except it's Master
It's like
Foods.
a darker red there.
Yeah, it's like a maroony colour.
So Corey, he's joined the All Australian Races stable, and none of the All Australian Races cars look like any of the other All Australian Races cars.
I see it does have some continuity because it does have the AOC
It does have that.
on the rear wing.
Yeah, but that's much bigger on Hans Brunswick, who we can't see at the moment because he's in the pit lane, in his pit garage, I should say. There's another All-Australian car that we haven't picked up on. Oh, there it is. There's Hans Brunswick.
I actually don't mind the look of it, but the fact that none of them look the same somehow triggers me.
Although I like it because as a commentator, they're easily distinguishable from one another.
As a commentator, I appreciate it, but as someone that likes things that are the same to look the same,
yeah,
it displeases me.
I can understand where you're coming from there. I'm just trying to see if we can find the other All Australian Races car on track, but
I can confirm, by the way, that Bega Dairy and Drinks does in fact own Farmers Union and Dare Iced Coffee, which has shaken my world to its foundation.
I'm shook.
They also own Big M, which I believe is another,
okay,
and Pura Milk.
They're probably fueling the war between the states here.
Probably.
But yeah, it doesn't look like Lachlan Burke is on track, or even indeed in the servo. I did see him earlier, so we'll try and catch up with that car. That's the Napa livery.
I do love that Napa livery. It's very good. 20 cars in the service, Des.
Here's Luke Rosella, who we saw on track not too long ago, because he was... Well, we actually saw his webcam earlier as well. We'll see if we can bring that back once we've gone through the rest of the cars, as the servo looks like it's just having a little bit of trouble there, but he's my tip to win some races this year. At the moment, it's Ethan and Dane Warren at the top of the top of the timing screen, and Corey McFarlane doing a very, very good job as well. Now, there's one guy that I want to have a look at. I don't think we've given him much airtime yet, but this is Colin Warwick, and Mad Bird, some news came through from Colin Warwick over the off-season. Do you know what that news was?
He still has his pants down?
He's expecting his first child, which is quite relevant to what you just said.
Oh my goodness. As we see an absolute schmozzle in the pit lane.
Little baby Warwick, I believe, is coming in August, so
I did see that.
Huge congratulations to Colin and his partner and his whole family. So it's going to be a very exciting time for he and his family.
It is. There's a lot of that going around. My barber has just recently announced that he's having a child. And a couple of people I work with also expecting out of nowhere. So something about quarantine, I suppose. It's got people, making babies.
Hey, fair enough.
Got to do something when you're a close contact and you can't leave the house for 7 days. And there is Luke Rosella, both in the car and in the cockpit, and he's soaring at the wheel going through turn 1 with a very serious expression on his face. So, a bit of a lock
up there. So let's see if let's follow Luke Rosella around this Sydney Motorsport Park, coming up to a little bit of traffic. I think I can see, but he should be all right. It's Dane Liccardo, who's not hugely slow. So Luke Rosella jumping into third place. So he was behind Corey McFarlane.
Nice and wide there. Coming up to the right-hander, the left-hander, the right-angle left-hander is what I was going to say. And he has caught up to Dane Liccardo just a little bit, coming into this tricky downhill left-hander into the hairpin.
Good practice for the race, though.
Yeah, definitely. Following slower cars.
Yeah, a bit wide there for Dane. Bit of side-to-side contact. Hand up in the air from Luke Rosella. Frustration there. He must have been on what they call a heater.
I've only ever heard that in supercars. I've never heard another motorsport describe a hot lap as a heater.
Frustration for Liccardo, for Luke Rosella there, but
at the expense of Dane Liccardo.
Oh, what's he doing there? He's having an aneurysm. I don't think Dane Liccardo did anything wrong there. I mean, it's just a practice session.
It's practice.
We did survey a lot of the drivers, and one of Dane Licato's responses was, when can you say something in defence of me, in reference to what Michael Floodman Zalavari coined as a phrase early on in last season. So
it's good that he's got a sense of humour about it.
I think so. Yes.
And I think he put his hand up a bit in that particular instance.
Well, I think he's been doing a fair bit of work. I might be confusing him with another driver, but I believe he's been doing quite a bit of work with guys over in the ASR to improve his racecraft. And he's definitely got faster throughout last year. The trouble is, all of them get faster, so sometimes it's difficult to see the progress you're making.
It's lower of diminishing returns at a certain stage, because you will sort of tighten up at the top, and once you're very quick, it takes a lot more effort to get from very quick to very, very quick. So everyone's sort of concertina's up towards the top. And you can see the top, my goodness, the top 6 covered by 1 second in this practice session. So we can only hope that'll carry over into the qualifying.
So, well, let's use this opportunity to see more of Tim Horton's car then, shall we? Because
Tim Hortons, eh?
Quite liking it.
What is that on the bonnet?
Canadian Tire, which is like Kmart, which you wouldn't expect from the name.
Yeah, I do. I feel like I've known that. I feel like
I probably told you.
Because I would have thought the exact same thing. Isn't there also a racetrack that's Canadian Tire and
Motorsport? Yeah, Mosport.
Mosport.
Which is
I think actually quite like
just
that
a
track.
Temporary sponsorship name.
Oh. That makes sense. I think that's how I knew it, because I looked up Mosport on Wikipedia, and it had Canadian Tire as a link, and I was like, oh, I wonder what that is, and I clicked it, and it carried me to Canadian Kmart, which isn't what I expected.
No, I wouldn't have expected that either.
I would have thought Canadian Kmart would just be Kmart, considering it's a fairly big deal in America. This is Sydney Motorsport Park. In case you needed any introduction, you got your start finish, you got your turn 1, that long left-hander into the turn 2 hairpin, turn 3 uphill, third, and into turn 4, 5, 6, 7, that tricky left-hander downhill into the hairpin, which is turn 8. Then turn 9 and 10 sort of become one complex. You flick it right, flick it left, and then hang it all the way around turn 11 and onto the start-finish straight. And that is a lap of Sydney Motorsport Park. We've seen plenty of them in this series, especially in season 2020 when we went there 4 times in a row.
It was quite. Yeah, but one of those was for the Super 2 Championship, so that's 3 rounds there from the main series.
Different layouts, but still, I was glad to see the back of it. For a little while.
I'll tell you what racetrack I'm looking forward to this year.
Winton. Hey! And we're going to get there, aren't we, buddy?
I don't think any of the drivers are looking forward to it. It is not a driver's...
And we're back.
Sorry about that. It is not a driver's favourite. That was someone, I think, trying to pull the plug on us while we were
as soon as we mentioned Winton.
Praising Winton, but as I was about to say, it was a very, very exciting round there last time we were there, which was all the way back in 2019. So we've had 2 years. We've had 2 years without Winton. So
what a race it was that it has lived large in our memories for so long.
Yeah. Well, do you remember that was the infamous bet between you and Lewis Kugley over whether Thomas McMillan could get a podium?
And he didn't.
And he
right
didn't.
At the end, by $10.
After running in the podium positions for the entire race. So here we go.
Incredible.
We'll put that one to one side right now, and we are going to get ready for a very hectic 10-minute qualifying session.
A very busy pit exit.
You know it. Oh my goodness, you know it. Now, let's see if we can pick up who's actually at the head of the field. It looks like it might be Thomas McMillan.
Thomas McMillan. Speak of the devil. So let's see if we can pick him up for his first heater lap in the, well, he is in the VB car, so he's got to give himself a hard-earned thirst.
Racing for the king of spin, Shane Wall.
Absolutely, right there on the bonnet, and he's got
VB.
No cars ahead of him.
Incidentally, if you're watching along and you want to have a bit of a chat with us, go nuts in the live chat over on YouTube. We love a bit of the audience interaction. G'day to SDS Racing and Loose Sim Sport, otherwise known as Lewis Wedding.
Hashtag Rhodium. Unfortunately, I don't believe Rhodes is in the race.
And to
so that's a long shot.
Lewis's question from before, is Luke Rosella going to have a crack or what? And I think very much so.
I reckon he's going to have a crack and what?
Yes.
As the Tim Hortons car is in the background, so this is just an absolutely perfect shot.
Oh.
Shane Warne, VB, and Tim Hortons. What a trio that makes.
Doesn't it?
Gets nice and wide on turn 11. Probably could have gone a bit wider, gotten a bit more speed on the exit onto the start-finish straight. But nevertheless, Thomas McMillan comes across the line any second now to start his first flying lap.
Now, there's no one in Sector 1 right now.
So he's got plenty of space. He's going to not come across a runner for his entire lap unless something goes horribly wrong.
So the whole field is on the track, and the last two cars just coming towards the middle part of the middle sector right now. So they're going to stretch out, of course, at this point. But Thomas McMillan with no traffic to worry about whatsoever.
Bit of a messy run through turn 2 there. Not the fastest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Teamed up with Luke Rosella for last year's Bathurst 1000. That was the only race he competed in last year for ASC, so good to see him back in the evening races.
Getting a little bit of oversteer coming out of some of these corners, and manages to hold on to it through that one.
Oh, a little bit of server lag there as he just approaches the bridge, under the bridge, into the braking zone. So this first race, Madbird, is going to be a 38 lapper, so this is a longer race, and it'll be during the daytime. So as the race is in the daytime, the qualifying session is also in the daytime.
Makes sense. Oh, and he's actually bailed on the lap. I saw the brakes come on, and he slowed right down.
He's slow right down. Well, the fastest first sector currently on track is from Dane Warren, but Luke Rosella has put in a fastest middle sector. Never mind, Dane Warren has usurped that one. And it looks like Thomas is going to come across the line, so maybe he was just touching the brakes to balance the car a little bit. Maybe.
It seemed like a pretty hefty stamp on the brakes, and Cameron Parrott goes faster than him.
So does Hans Brunswick and Luke Rosella. Dane Warren is definitely on a very fast lap. Let's see what Ethan Warren can do coming up to the line. And for Ethan Warren, it is a 27.5, but that's not fast enough. Dane Warren is your current pole sitter.
Well, it didn't take him long to get back up to speed.
27.2. Now, I'm just wondering whether our quali record might be in danger. It hasn't been in danger since 2020 when Dane Warren set it, which was a 26.6. But that's not the fastest lap around this racetrack that we have seen in this series. That was 26.2 set during the race of that very same round in 2020 by Dane Warren.
Of course.
In case you're wondering.
We're going to be coming across a lot of records that have happened as a result of Dane Warren, I think. As we watch him come through the last sector, or into the last sector rather, on his second lap. And Luke Rosella currently the closest to him, 0.2 of a second behind in second place. And reigning defending champion Kurt Stenberg only good enough for third at the moment. So where did Thomas McMillan ended up down in 18th? So I think I'm going to stand by him bailing on that lap.
Yeah, good call. Potentially you might be onto something
there. He's just shot up to 5th, so he's now set an actual banker lap. And
Dane Warren has improved by another 300 or 400ths of a second there, so good job there from Dane, and he's going to exit stage right there, and coming into the pits is his brother Ethan Warren.
Scrambling behind them, so Corey McFarlane, has hopped up into third place ahead of Kurt Stenberg. Here is Luke Rosella.
So good job there from Corey, and it's tight at the sort of second right through to about 5th, really, with all of those positions up for grabs. Now, Luke Rosella is quite close to Dane Warren's time there. He's a little bit down, but he's up on his personal best, so he's just shaving away little bits and pieces, little fractions of a second. He's got the Tim Hortons car up ahead, and no doubt the prospect of some sweet, delicious Timbits will be egging him on.
Well, during practice, he caught up to Dane Liccardo in this corner and was quite unhappy about it. So he'll be quite happy to see that he hasn't caught up to the Tim Hortons car quite yet. Still half a tenth up on his personal best. 1/10 down on Dane Warren's time.
Yeah.
Coming into the last corner.
Oh, a little bit wide there, trying for a late apex. The track does show, I think he's coming to the pits.
He's bailed on that one.
He has indeed bailed on that one. So let's have a look at Kurt Stenberg. He appears to be on an outlap. We'll see whether he can improve on his current position of 4th place, just ahead of Jared Filsell, which is nothing to sneeze at. Nothing to be ashamed of.
No, definitely not. Jared Filsell are currently in 5th.
And he's on a not particularly good lap at the moment. 4/10 adrift at the moment, which is slower than he has previously done in this qualifying session, which is nearly over 3 and a bit minutes remaining in this 10-minute qualifying session.
Quickly.
It certainly has.
You've got AC on your standings there. That is Alex Cattle.
That's right.
Whose surname, for some reason, isn't appearing.
Yeah, I think he hasn't elected not to type the rest of it.
So it is not the video game Assetto Corsa out there. It is Alex Cattle.
We'll see if we can get Jared Filsell across the line here. I think if he's fueled for another lap, he may want to go for another one, as we see once again the Tim Hortons car.
The ever-present Tim Hortons car.
Exactly. So Cameron Parrott's sponsorship getting quite a bit of airtime here as we look at the Erebus Brody Kostecki livery that is being driven by Jared Filsell.
Nice and wide. Oh, very wide.
Does seem like the ideal line as they are going for it. So the track appears to have marbles there, but I don't think they're modelled in this particular version.
No, it's very
circuit.
forgiving, I'm pretty sure, going through that last corner. So this presumably will be a... Oh, gets a little bit of grass coming into turn 1. That's a bit of a worry, but looks like he's managed to keep it on the black stuff coming out and down into turn 2. Into the hairpin. Nice and tight on the entry and exit. Misses the apex a little bit, but that's okay.
You can kind of get away with that.
It is sort of...
Oh, I wonder if that lag spike occurred to him as well and might have been the reason why he drifted a little bit wide. He's a long way off. So this lap is not looking very good. I just saw some smoke signals from Kurt Stenberg, who's exiting the final corner, and Dane Warren is behind him, so we'll keep an eye on whether he improves his lap time or not as well. Kurt Stenberg not good enough. Dane Warren has moved the goalposts. He's moved the goalpost. It's a 26.9. Still a few tenths away from the quali record he set back in 2020, but my goodness, he's aiming for it, isn't he?
He's getting perilously close to that 126.615 that he set in 2020.
Thomas McMillan's been dropped down to 7th and can't improve on that lap. Looks like he might have been just warming up there, as he's quite a few seconds off the pace.
1 minute to go in this qualifying session, so anyone that isn't currently out and sort of already halfway through their lap or thereabouts most likely won't get around in time to set another hot lap. And looks like Dane Warren is once again has set us purple first sector, a 27.2, which is about 0.2 of a second better than the next best, which is significant.
Yeah, it is. Luke Rosella is trying to improve. He's currently on a lap, which we're just tracking on our other screen to see whether he can find some time. He's up on his PB, but not by enough, as we see Thomas McMillan lighting it up. Luke Rosella improving in the middle sector by about half a tenth. It's not anywhere near enough. He needs to find about 0.5 of a second. We'll get Luke Rosella across the line, and then we'll take you back to this delightful Thomas McMillan lap. Luke Rosella, I think he will improve, and that may well secure his second and protect him, but it's not going to be enough for pole position. He improves by 1.5, which is certainly nothing to sneeze at, but it's nothing for Dane Warren. Let's take you back to Thomas McMillan and see if he can improve on 7th place. My goodness, that's a stacked top 10, isn't it?
It really is. As we see him come down towards the line, I don't think he's going to improve on this occasion, and he doesn't. He's about a second off first place and a bit down on his PB. Dane Warren did improve his time again with a 26.7, but still not good enough for the quali record, so that will stand for at least
till the second race tonight.
For another hour.
So this is Jared Filsell coming to the line. Let's see if he's got any improvement up his sleeve. It's going to be a 27.6, not quite, very close to his PB there.
I reckon that was it.
Yeah, just seeing if we've got any other cars left to finish their laps. I believe David Nenadic is on a lap. We haven't seen too much of him tonight. He's all the way down there in 15th place, his teammate up in 9th.
This is definitely not going to be a belter. He's just about to hit Dane Warren's lap time.
Dane Warren, who's actually on a lap at the moment as well, but he's not going very quickly, so I think he's just cooling down.
So Dane Warren, unless something goes horribly wrong, will be starting on pole position for the first race of the season.
We'll just get Luke across the line, because Luke did manage to start this lap before the timer went to 0, and he improves. So he's chipping away, but it's just not quite enough. That's 4 and, well, nearly 5/10 of a second there in the end. But a tremendous return to the qualifying form for Dane Warren. Not that he ever lost his form. The only reason why he wasn't setting pole positions in this series was because he wasn't here.
So yeah, Dane Warren with pole position. Luke Rosella going to be starting alongside Corey McFarlane and Kurt Stenberg, row number 2. Ethan Warren and Phil Sell for row number 3. And Thomas McMillan and Colin Warwick for row number 4. So that's a pretty tasty top 8 that we've got for the start of this first race, Des.
Yeah, my goodness. I'm very impressed with Corey McFarlane. He's backing up from last year.
Absolutely.
It's what else? What other surprises are we seeing? Sean Allen, I think, is feeling the lack of seat time down there in 13th place. So I think it's probably not a huge surprise to see him down there. We know he's got the pace to take it to your Kurt Stenbergs and your Colin Warwicks and your Thomas McMillans, but just not spent enough time in the seat, I think. So
makes a big difference.
And he's never been a hugely strong qualifier. He's always found that his best moments in the sunshine come during the races themselves.
Yeah, very good wheel-to-wheel racer. And as we've seen, I'm pretty sure, like, whenever Dane Warren has started on pole, if someone's gotten the jump on him early, it sort of shakes him. So if Luke Rosella, Corey McFarlane, Kurt Stenberg, one of them can get a really good start and hassle Dane Warren into turn 1, then it's all up in the air. And especially with the likes of Ethan Warren, Jared Philsell, and Thomas McMillan.
That is going to be a crazy top 10.
Bearing down on you coming into that hairpin.
Now, the biggest issue for the guys who've just joined us and may not potentially do the whole series is going to be the strategy side of things, because if you're not used to Automobilista, there's a few things that are quite a bit different to iRacing. For one thing, cars do not ghost in the pit lane, so you can't drive through another competitor in the pit lane. You got to make sure that you don't accidentally have it set to to fix the damage, because that could cost you a lot of time in the pits. And those who are experienced at it, they know exactly how much fuel they need. They know exactly how much time it takes to change tyres. All that stuff that might not have been practiced by those just dropping in.
Or even just keybinds. I remember, I think early on when we used to, when it was an AS, Automobilista Australia series, there were a couple of iRacing guys that hopped in that just hadn't bound the button to change their fuel amount. So they weren't able to change the amount of fuel they were putting in during their pit stops, and it was these things that you don't have to think about usually when you're just doing the same game that you play every day. But when you jump into a different game and all the keybinds are different, it can mess you up.
It most certainly can. We'll just have a look at the strategy for this race. We have the tyres set to... Now, we'll just double check this, but we believe that the tyre usage is set to normal, which means they'll degrade at the normal rate. And the fuel is set to ×2, which means that they will degrade at twice the rate that they normally would.
Yep, which we have 2 compulsory pit stops for the first race.
And one for the second race.
And one for the second race, with the pit stop window being lap 1 through lap 35. So pretty much the entire race, bar the last 3 laps, you can make those pit stops. And obviously, while we're waiting for the race session to get underway, while we're watching this warm-up session, a few people doing some practice laps, make sure you hop over into liveraces.rocksolidmates.com to keep up with all the live timing, as we're going to see a practice start here from Corey McFarlane. and hop over onto Facebook, onto our socials. Give us a like over on Automobilista Supercars Championship and on Apex Rear Wing. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and like the video while you've got a moment. And if you like what we do, then hop over onto patreon.com/ApexRearWing. And any support is truly very much appreciated. It takes a lot of effort to put these shows on, and we greatly appreciate any of the support that we do receive.
Well, let's remind you of the details of this racetrack. It's anti-clockwise. It's 3.93 kilometers in length.
I reckon I could quote those stats off. Sorry, I was bad-mouthing Sydney Motorsport Park, and someone wanted to put the kibosh on that, so...
Here it is again.
I'm very glad to be back here at this anti-clockwise 3.93 kilometre circuit, Stairs.
Yeah, I've got a button that I normally use for something else that seems to take me to that particular screen. So, nevertheless, here are the particulars of the racetrack.
It's been a break for us as well. Obviously, the last commentary and stream that we did was the Bathurst 1000 in early December, which feels like a long time ago. Really, it wasn't, but it's still quite a long time to be out of the game in terms of all the commentary MacGuffins. You have no idea how many buttons Stairs presses. His actions per minute are through the absolute roof. If you're
the absolute roof.
The absolute roof, not just the roof, through the roof. So, could put any StarCraft player to shame.
So it's a pretty stacked field that we've got, and we're going to jump straight through now into the formation lap, and there is your pole sitter. That is Dane Warren, the 2020 champion of this Automobilista Supercars Championship, and alongside him, a young stallion of the sport in Luke Rosella. Here is Luke Rosella racing for Synergy Sim Racing in the number 55 car. He's got Corey McFarlane behind him. Corey McFarlane already notching up wins last year for All Australian races in the Master Foods entry there. Behind him, we've got last year's champion, the defending champion. He says the number one is cursed. He starts the first race out of 4th place. And then behind him, we've got his teammate, Ethan Warren, starting a very, very promising charge, I'd say, for the Trans-Tasman Racing outfit. Behind him, we've got Jared Filsell for Erebus Motorsport out of 6th place. He's got Thomas McMillan alongside him, making his return to a main game drive alongside Colin Warwick in the Warwick Racing Team car. Then we've got Zach Baker out of 9th place, one of last year's team's champion drivers. Then it's Alex Cattle in 10th place. Dane Liccardo in 11th place in the Logitech Evolution Racing Team car. Behind him is Termo Good, qualifying for Termo in the Cool Drive entry. Then we've got Sean Allen for AWG. Benjamin Dahlia, his teammate, alongside him in 14th, ahead of David Nemetich, second of the drivers in the winning team from last year. Then we've got in the AOR car for All Australian Races, Hans Brunswick, the number 111, ahead of Benjamin Hall in the number 20 for Luke McHugh Racing. Then we've got the Tim Hortons Maple Leaf Sim Sport car driven by Cameron Parrott, starting in 18th place, ahead of Steve Warwick, father of the soon-to-be father Colin Warwick, and then RSM Latino in 20th place, great mates with the Warwicks. And then we've got Aiden Sykes out of 21st place, starting in 21st, ahead of Brap out of 22nd place, starting in 22nd.
Alex Cattle, the highest qualifying AWG runner.
That is definitely a surprise, isn't it?
Yeah, with Sean Allen and Benjamin Dahlia down behind him. Oh, as one of the ZB cars had a little bit of trouble finding his pit slot there. LiveRaces.rocksolidmates.com to follow along with all the live timing for round number 1 of season 2022, Stairs.
The revs are rising. You can hear them. You can hear the lights. You can hear the engines. And in 2022, Off they go!
Looks like a better start from Luke Rosella. He is well and truly up alongside and past Dane Warren as they come down into turn 1, and he's going to get the whole shot through and into the lead. Dane Warren with with Kurt Stenberg right on his tail, and Corey McFarlane not too far behind. He's going to try to go around the outside at turn 2, but he's not going to manage to do it. Luke Rosella hangs on to the lead through and into turn 3, Stairs. My
goodness, what a stacked start. We knew it was going to be like that, but a terrific start from Luke Rosella. Dane Warren with champion-elect. A great start from Kurt Stenberg. Bit of Morse code on the rear bumper there. And welcome back to Automobilista Supercars Championship, Dane Warren.
Yeah, it's been there's a little bit more class than the last time you were here, Dane. No offence to those that were here back then, but everyone's improved just a little bit. Luke Rosella managing to get the lead off the start. That was very important. But he is already coming back under attack as Dane Warren settles a little bit. Kurt Stenberg's fallen off the back just a touch and has got Corey McFarlane to worry about, trying to dive down the inside of the hairpin.
And Dane Warren taking a very, very different line there, opening the door a little bit. Kurt Stenberg not quite able to drive through it, but I think that was a bit of a mistake from Dane Warren because he lost quite a bit of time to Luke Rosella.
And looked like a little bit of a swap for Luke Rosella, very, very wide going through the last corner. He had enough gap in hand not to lose the position as a result, but Dane Warren's going to get the slipstream all the way down and into turn 1, and he's already right on his rear bumper. Will he dive for the inside? He is going to try to.
He's trying to do it before turn 1, and he does a magnificent job. I didn't think it was going to be possible. Puts him in the ideal spot for turn 2, but look at the drive Luke Rosella's got. Unfortunately for him, though, he just doesn't have the ideal position, and he's got to be careful here that he doesn't lose that position to Kurt Stenberg, who's going to stick his nose in there. Now, Ethan Warren is going side by side there with Corey McFarlane. The two Trans-Tasman Racing guys line astern. Well, I mean, the whole top 5 are line astern. Look at that.
Ethan diving down the inside of Kurt Stenberg.
Yeah, having a look, isn't he? And has he got the job done? No, Kurt Stenberg still has the inside there and is going to hang on, but he's going to drive his teammate out of road ever so slightly. No love lost between those two.
Took the words out of my mouth. Corey McFarlane dropping back down through the field into 5th. With Jared Philsell for company right behind him. So these top 6 still nuts to butts as they come through. There's a bit of bumping and
the nuts and the butts are in contact.
There's a lot of butts hitting nuts as they come through the hairpin and down towards the last sector for lap number 2. And I'm already losing my voice.
So Dane Warren has got the lead. Dane Warren has the lead of this race, but I get the feeling that Luke Rosella is going to have something to say about that as they all drag race down the front straight for the 3rd time out of 38.
Not quite close enough to have a go is Luke Rosella, but he might be able to have a go into the hairpin if he can keep his foot in it. And indeed he does. He'd have to make a very big lunge, and he chooses not to do that.
He's gone wide. Dane Warren goes wide at turn 2, but he's going to have the inside for the next corner, so he's quite fortuitous there because that looked like a bit of a mistake from Dane, but he ended up retaining the lead.
But it's, as Luke dives down the inside, looked like a tiny bit of contact. Nobody goes around, thank goodness, but it is unsettled Dane. I think Dane has been shook a little bit early here.
He's not been able to get into his normal rhythm. I think Luke Rosella realises here that if he can put pressure, speaking of pressure, I think he's being put under a little bit of pressure himself there as the two Trans-Tasman Racing guys go side by side, getting pushed, Ethan Warren by Corey McFarlane, is he?
Seeing them side by side right behind him, just filling his rearview mirror would be slightly disconcerting.
Yeah.
As they come through the hairpin, and Kurt Stenberg still managing to hold off his new teammate. Definitely not making buddy-buddy at the first race of the season. Good onboard shot here from Ethan Warren coming through the last corner. You can see Kurt Stenberg had to brake a little bit, got caught up behind Luke Rosella.
Yeah, Luke Rosella had a little bit of a wiggle trying to get the power down.
Bit of a messy last corner for Ethan Warren. So Dane Warren sets the fastest lap of the race so far, surprising no one.
Yeah, and he's cleared off a little bit on that lap with a bit of a mistake from Luke Rosella, which looks like it might have put Luke Rosella under a little bit of pressure from Kurt Stenberg, but Kurt not quite close enough. And again, that wide line from Dane Warren. I wonder if that's actually...
Maybe it's intentional.
That might be intentional, but maybe he just went a bit wider than he meant to on the previous lap.
So the Ethan Warren catching up leaps and bounds through that first sector, right back onto the rear of Kurt Stenberg as they come through the middle sector of this racetrack we know and love so well. Ethan Warren looking like he wants to have a go down to the inside, chooses not to, but he's right on the back of his teammate. There is Luke Rosella in picture-in-picture top right corner, watching these two in his rearview mirror, and Dane Warren now with a gap of about a second at the front.
Yeah, that's what Dane Warren really wants, is to be able to get into his rhythm and really kind of Vettel it into the distance, which is not something Vettel does these days, but back in the sort of early 2000s, we were kind of used to that.
Hashtag Vetteled it.
Vetteled it, as opposed to Webbering it.
Which is where you bugger up the start and then have to catch up throughout the entire race.
Absolutely.
Even I know that, and I never watched a race with Mark Webber in it.
It was 2 parts pain and 1 part
also pain.
Also pain. As Dane Warren sets another fastest lap of the race at 27.8.
So track record here is Dane Warren in 2020 with a 126.2. So he's got quite a bit to go in order.
Kurt Stenberg gives a little bit of a love tap to Luke Rosella.
That didn't look like an intended move, but it's come off for him. And now Luke Rosella has got Ethan Warren to worry about, bumping his door, coming through the right-hander of turn 4. And he's managed to see that challenge off, I think, and he has a go down the inside of Kurt Stenberg. Dane Warren seems to be falling back into this battle once again. Only 0.2 of a second between Kurt Stenberg and Dane Warren at the moment.
I wonder if they've elected for a slightly different tyre strategy.
Two stops,
Dane Warren maybe on a harder tyre and not going to change tyres at his first stop, maybe. It's all very interesting. We'll keep tabs on this, but we'll just update you with what's happening a little bit further on down the field. Colin Warwick and Thomas McMillan have been side by side numerous times over the previous lap. They're falling back a little bit from the leading train of sort of 6 cars, including the 2 Warren brothers, Stenberg, Rosella, McFarlane and Philsell. But Warwick and McMillan swapping positions, and McMillan in the fence! McMillan in the fence!
Who had lap 5? Who had lap 5? Thomas McMillan does put it in the fence, not too heftily, it must be said, and he was giving a little bit of love tap on the back of Colin Warwick. So I'm not sure how he's done this. He's just gotten it on the grass.
His replay is kind of missing most of it. We'll have to kind of go back and see if we can see what it looked like from Thomas McMillan's view. And it was all by himself. Just, maybe a bit of a lag spike there, but perhaps 2 wheels on the grass, and that fed him directly into the fence. We're going to rejoin this leading battle because it definitely hasn't cooled down at all.
No, it hasn't. Kurt Stenberg right on the back of Dane Warren going through the turn 2 hairpin and just managing to stretch out a little bit through this middle sector as Ethan Warren catches up onto the back of Kurt Stenberg. So Kurt currently in a Warren sandwich.
Well, he's a Stenberg sandwich. The Warrens are nothing but bread.
Very true.
But my goodness, slightly different types of bread.
Oh,
that was a bit sideways for Kurt Stenberg, and a bit on the exit as well.
And he nearly takes out Ethan Warren, who manages to dodge him.
Wow.
So very well done there.
Aren't we lucky?
Aren't we just? As Luke Rosella down the inside.
Yeah.
Looks like they all went a little bit deep. Kurt Stenberg manages to hold on to it, but Luke Rosella gets past Ethan Warren and up into third. A little bit rude, but I like it.
Do you?
I do.
Yeah.
Dane Warren now.
Rosella in your screen. Top right. Oh, there's a bit of, what was that for? That was a bit of a, it looked like he was serving him.
Luke's loving it in the top right.
Isn't he?
He's loving this because he's like, if you two take each other out, I'm in the lead of this race.
Well,
and you
that's
can see
true.
the gap there between the top 3.
Oh, they're trying to break the toe. They're trying to break the toe down the main straight. It's going to be side by side. Kurt Stenberg on the outside. Luke Rosella's got his nose in there. Does Rosella? Does Stenberg? No, he's there. He certainly does now. Wow.
That was terrifying.
Yes.
Somehow nobody ends up in the fence out of all that. Luke Rosella stays on the inside.
It's like a MotoGP race.
You can see the concentration on his face.
Yeah, can you blame him?
No.
You can see the fan over his right-hand shoulder. I'm a fan of his right now. But my goodness gracious me, I'm a fan of all these guys.
And Dane Warren just not clearing off into the distance as he would like to. I'm not sure if he's just...
Corey McFarlane gets his nose in there as well.
Yeah, he's not falling off this pack. This pack of top 6 have been touching for pretty much the entire 7 laps of this race so far. And as you said earlier, Colin Warwick and co just falling off the back of this top battle. So, can Dane Warren hold on to this lead for an 8th go around? Kurt Stenberg right on his rear bumper going through the final hairpin. And into the last corner, he's almost doing Morse code on the rear bumper, coming into turn 11. Gets it nice and wide and has to check up a little bit behind him. Looks like he's even bump drafting him into the last corner, Kurt Stenberg, and onto the start-finish straight. And line astern as they go down. Is he going to dive for the inside? It looks like he's got the pace to. He's going to try to. Down the inside goes Kurt Stenberg. Has to slot in behind, but very well done. If he keeps his foot in it, might be able to have a go down into the hairpin. Luke Rosella's certainly going to try to. Luke Rosella down the inside of the hairpin.
Wow!
And that is very, very deep. That is a bit of a lunge there.
3 wide on the exit. Look at Ethan Warren. He's going to come out of this number 1, is he?
Not going to work out for Luke Rosella, who loses 8 position out of that. And now side by side are the 2 Trans-Tasman Racing guys into turn 5. Kurt Warwick.
Oh, I think Luke Rosella got a bit of a side bump there, and that's jumped him all the way down to the 6th as he managed to recover. He's just jumped onto the back of that, but he got a bit of door-to-door contact from Ethan Warren, and it's just cost him 2 or 3 spots, such as the closeness of this leading group. That one little error like that feeds you down about 3 spots.
You can see how hard Kurt Stenberg is gripping his wheel as he tries to fend off his teammate while keeping Dane Warren in touching distance. 0.7 of a second now is the gap between the leading 2.
Oh, and breathe.
Yeah, let's have a moment.
Just getting word through. I didn't quite see when this message came through, but Lachlan Burke saying his power went out.
Oh no, that would be the Napa racing car that we lost.
We saw him in practice. Hopefully he can join again for race 2. As we did want to catch up with him. We want to catch up with what's going on with the rest of the field, but the top 10 is just going off right now. Colin Warwick's had some sort of issue which has dropped him out of the top 10. In fact, he's down. In fact, is he in the pits, I wonder? We'll see if we can catch up with that, and indeed he is. Colin Warwick, the first pit caller by the looks of it.
Yeah, on lap 9.
I think I can hear someone else in the pits as well. We'll see if we can catch that on our live timing. But that's the first of 2 compulsory pit stops in this race undertaken for Colin Warwick.
Now, Kurt Stenberg is having to worry far too much about the other Warren in his rearview mirror to chase after the first Warren, who is currently in first. So that gap has ballooned out to 1.2 seconds now at the front, with Ethan Warren right on the back of Kurt Stenberg, and Kurt having to be very defensive here against his teammate.
Yeah, that's allowing Dane Warren to get a bit of a jump. 1.1 seconds is about the biggest lead he's had throughout this race, which is saying something actually, because normally Dane Warren is out in front with a little bit more comfort.
Much more comfort, as it looked like they just came up upon a lapped runner. It's RSM Latino, who may have pit, as Kurt Stenberg gets a little bit of slipstream from RSM Latino, breaking the slipstream with Ethan Warren, so he'd be thankful for that. He's going to have to follow him into turn 1.
RSM Latino has indeed pit.
And Ethan Warren has dropped off the back of Kurt Stenberg just a little bit as RSM goes very deep. Oh, gets a bit of a lock-up actually for his trouble into turn 2.
It's just settling down a bit, but tell you what, this isn't. Corey McFarlane and Jared Filsell. So Jared Filsell up into 4th place. Luke Rosella on the back of them as McFarlane goes for the inside move on Jared Filsell. And Luke Rosella trying to position himself for the inside. That would have made it 3 wide, and I don't think they would have known you were there, Luke.
But Luke's probably a little bit frustrated. He was in the lead for the first lap and is now down in 6th place. So he's probably wanting to. He can still see that leading pack of the 2 Trans-Tasman races, and Dane Warren just a little bit further up the track as well. So he wants to get back up there as soon as possible. And Corey McFarlane and Jared Filsell doing a very good job of negating that pace that Luke Rosella has.
So we have another car in the pits. It's we've got to scroll down the page to find it. Aiden Sykes
into the pits. So a fair few people looking like they're going to try to split it into thirds.
Yeah, so we're not quite at 1/3 distance yet as McFarlane goes for the inside. That's looking pretty easy though.
Very comfortable.
Does lose that benefit of the slipstream and has to stay tight to the inside of one, otherwise it's going to allow Jared Filsell up the inside. But Jared Filsell had a mammoth moment through turn 1, and that's allowed Luke Rosella up around the outside of him.
Yes, indeed. Luke trying to go around the outside. Might be helped out by Corey McFarlane here, just doing a good job of blocking Jared Filsell going into turn 4.
Whoa.
Lots and lots of sideways for Jared Filsell.
That's Aiden Sykes just having made his pit stop. So good job from Aiden there to get out of the way. That could have been an awkward moment as they were all focused on each other rather than the lap traffic that they're coming through. So in the end, McFarlane prevails, and Rosella unable to take the opportunity there.
1.7 seconds the gap at the front now. So
Yeah,
that's beginning to balloon. Oh, has looked like a very messy moment there for Corey coming into the hairpin. Oh, and
got a bit of a tut there from Jared Filsell.
A little bit rude perhaps, but I like it.
Jared in a difficult position here, trying to make the move on Corey, but also not lose the position to Luke Rosella, who's a bit frustrated after getting a bit of a bump from Ethan Warren earlier on in this race.
And Jared looks like he's using up his tyres. As Dane Warren pits from the lead on lap 11.
So a little bit earlier maybe than we were expecting. Not quite 1/3 distance as Dane Warren comes in. Very interesting to see what happens here and whether the gap is maintained after the others make their pit stops. And it's 3 wide at turn 2!
Oh, and Corey is going to once again win out here. And Luke Rosella once again is going to come off 3rd best.
Let's see if we can catch a replay of that, because that was all going off. So it's Corey in front, Filsell trying to make the move, but Rosella also trying to make the move, and they all outbroke each other. And Corey McFarlane knew exactly where to brake, not phased at all, took the normal line and let those two just yahoos go through the
yokels
through the brake zone and retain the spot that he had in the first place.
So whereas Dane Warren's come out down in 17th following his pit stop.
Yeah, so that's Brapp just behind him and Colin Warwick. Now that's very interesting. Either Colin Warwick has played a blinder in his pit strategy, or Dane Warren has overfueled.
Changed too many tyres.
I'm guessing there's a bit of a discrepancy in tyres, whether they took any or not. That's interesting though, because with Dane's pace early on in the race, I was thinking maybe he's on a harder tyre than the others, but perhaps I was discrediting the others in terms of their pace.
Possibly, and I imagine Dane probably had to use a bit more of his tyres than he was expecting to from pole position.
Luke's still not able to get the move done on Jared Filsell, and Corey McFarlane's been allowed to escape up the road ever so slightly.
He has still within touching distance, about 0.3 of a second as they come through the hairpin. So these three seem to be joined at the, if not the hip, then the bumpers.
Yeah. So they're about 5 seconds up the road. Oh, as they cut away, Jared Filsell and Luke Rosella make contact. That was a spin for Jared Filsell, and that has that has relinquished the position.
My goodness, and it looks like his tyres are hurting. He's wiggling all over the place.
We've definitely seen tyre dramas at this racetrack before.
Going to replay this.
Yeah, so just wide. Took too much speed in. And
very well done to Luke Rosella.
There was no contact between Luke Rosella there. That was just the avoiding action. How did Rosella knew where to go?
I don't know how he managed to keep his foot mostly in it on the grass.
Yeah.
And not put himself in the wall himself. So very well done to Luke Rosella with that avoiding action. Jared Filsell coming off pretty poorly.
Disappointing.
On his tyres, I imagine. Would not be particularly happy with that state of affairs. Ethan Warren still in the lead. Oh, Ethan Warren has actually taken the lead from Kurt Stenberg at some stage while we've been occupied with this secondary lead battle.
And he's jumped a little bit further up the road. We're seeing someone come into the pits in the back of that shot.
I reckon that was Jared Filsell into the pits. I could be wrong.
I thought it was Corey McFarlane car colour. No, you're right, it is Jared Filsell. So Filsell in the pits, and I think he'll be opting to replace those tyres.
Yes. Dane Liccardo in the pits as well by the looks of it. And Benjamin Dahlia. So fair few pit stoops happening.
So we haven't seen any movement from Trans-Tasman on that front. So they're still out front, 1 and 2, in the opposite order to which Kurt Stenberg would like them to be.
Yes, I imagine so. We're just trying to find a replay of the change for the lead position. Looks like it happened a fair few laps ago.
Dane Warren on new tyres, presumably, setting the fastest lap of the race.
Who's surprised?
Did you see what that time was? Because we were getting pretty close, weren't we?
We were. Where are we? Dane Warren. Well, the 1:27.5, so
fine.
Still a fair bit away from the track record lap time.
All right, we found the replay, so we're going to show you how Ethan Warren got the lead of this race. So this is Kurt in front with the orange mirrors, and Ethan in second with the pink mirrors. Going down the inside at turn 2, classic move there. Kurt gives him the room, and if he can hang around the outside, it would give him the inside for the next corner, but Ethan taking the fight to him door to door as they emerge through there. 2 wheels in the grass, but in the end, Ethan able to get over the top of his very illustrious 2-time champion teammate.
Yeah, and still leading on lap 15. No signs of a pit stop for the 2 Trans-Tasman cars.
Which is surprising because we're 15 laps in now. And Corey McFarlane as well, not having made his pit stop. So he's in 3rd place. So if you have a white and red car,
it looks good.
The pits are off limits.
Apparently, Dane Warren setting another fastest lap at 1:27.4.
And that's about a second and a half faster than what the leaders are doing right now.
Unsurprising.
So we saw Dane Warren come out of the pits not too far ahead of Colin Warwick. He's put 4 seconds between himself and Colin Warwick now. And that's Luke Rosella catching up to Corey McFarlane.
Yep, so Corey McFarlane maybe had a drama somewhere because Luke Rosella's caught up quite a lot over the last couple of laps, or perhaps Corey McFarlane's tyres are just wearing a bit more.
Yeah, it's about 4/10 faster per lap, Luke Rosella, than Corey McFarlane.
Either of them are coming into the pits.
Well, Kurt is.
There goes Kurt. There is the ever-present Tim Horton's car.
There's Ethan, and there's Kurt. And neither Corey McFarlane nor Luke Rosella have come in.
So this will be interesting. Kurt may be going for the undercut on his teammate.
Oh, I'm just surprised that these guys have not
lap
elected to pit yet. They're nearly, I mean, they're not too far away from the halfway distance.
No. Halfway would be, what, 18? 19?
19 laps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
only 3 laps away from half distance.
I hope they know they have to make 2 pit stops.
Well, it was pretty clearly put in the notes.
It would be a little bit awkward if they didn't.
So Kurt's on his way, and I can see a ZB car in the back of that shot coming in.
So I believe that is Zach Baker. No, David Nedich.
David Nedich. So Kurt Stenberg on the pit exit. We wait to see whether Ethan Warren comes in on the subsequent lap. Now, just because they're teammates doesn't necessarily mean they share a pit box. It can do.
Corey McFarlane and Luke Rosella continuing on, as we said. And Luke Rosella seemingly getting closer and closer as they come into the last corner. So will they finally blink?
I think if you're Luke Rosella, you do whatever Corey McFarlane doesn't do here. So if he pits, you stay out.
And
he's ignored my advice.
Instead, they both come in, as does
Ethan Warren.
Just ahead of them there.
Yeah. So, oh, goodness me. Oh, I hope they got it slowed down.
Actually, not too far behind Ethan Warren.
No.
These two, considering the gap that there was between the 2 lead packs.
This is exciting.
It's going to be exciting.
So Sean Allen's going to come through and assume the race lead, and he has assumed it, but never assumed.
No.
Meanwhile,
makes an ass of you
see
on Sean Allen.
Where, as Termo comes in, Dane Warren is going to quite comfortably take the lead of the race. Here he is coming down the start-finish straight now. And Ethan Warren only just on his way.
Now where's Kurt Stenberg in comparison to...
He's behind Colin Warwick, which is surprising me. Here he is here as Ethan Warren's just at the pit exit now. Kurt Stenberg's got a couple of seconds to go before he gets to turn 1. So
he will arrive with a lot more pace, obviously, but it looks as if that has been a net very much a net win for Ethan Warren.
Ethan Warren is at turn 2 now.
There you can just see his rear tyre in that shot with Kurt Stenberg.
So Steve Warwick hasn't pitted, Ben Hall hasn't pitted. Colin Warwick he's played a blinder somewhere, but will that, whatever he's done, is that going to have an invoice to pay later on? Is he going to have worn tyres, or is he underfueled? We've seen him do both of those things in the past.
Ethan Warren managed to gain 3 seconds over Kurt Stenberg through those pit stops, so that is a significant chunk of time.
Colin Warwick, I don't know.
Yeah, what has he done?
Well, he's done something, and we're going to find out whether it's worked or not. Probably closer towards the next pit stop.
This is where we need...
I know he knows that the 2 pit stops are
I would hope
compulsory, because
so.
he wrote the notes saying
That'd be very awkward if he forgot.
I doubt that would occur.
This is where we really need our pit reporters.
I know, we should have got Floody in.
Yeah, someone to hop in and say, Colin, what did you do, mate?
Now let's give this guy some time on air, because he didn't have the best year last year and was looking for a strong return with Bathurst, but they ended up having technical issues in race on Oz with Alex Cattle, I believe. No, was it Benjamin Dahlia?
Benjamin Dahlia.
Trying to remember. So good to see, although by virtue of not having made his pit stop yet, but good to see Sean Allen out in front leading a race.
It is indeed. Still not a fan of that car.
Oh, you have to get used to it. I think any car that sticks out like the dog's proverbials is something that a commentator likes, because it's easier.
It's very easy to spot.
Just as long as not all the other cars stick out like the dog's proverbials.
Well, there's three AWG cars which look identical, so
yes, we need this. Well, they do have different numbers, but
it's a bit hard to see at the other end of a straight, though.
They haven't elected to do the different coloured mirrors thing. See, they both have the yellow mirrors. This is Benjamin Dahlia.
That, perhaps.
I'm surprised at Benjamin Dahlia's perceived lack of pace.
Yeah.
Because he would normally be around about on the same sort of pace as sort of your Rosellas and your Macmillans, or maybe a little bit off your Rosella, but definitely kind of Macmillan pace.
Where is Macmillan?
Wait to see on that one.
So Macmillan, I think, following the pit stops, is down in 9th.
Yeah, so a bit of a recovery drive. You did see him have that off. I don't think he got any damage out of that, driving as we know he does.
Doing Warnie proud.
Favourite Automobilista Supercars Championship moment from Thomas McMillan was his battle with Kurt Stenberg.
Oh, he hasn't hit yet.
His battle with Kurt Stenberg at Hidden Valley all those years ago, where they fought.
Jared Filsell making his second pit stop.
So that seems early for a second stop, because there's still 20 laps to go nearly, so that's unusual.
Also, sorry, go ahead.
We saw him have a bit of a spin early in his late in his last stint.
I was going to say, Corey McFarlane's come out with a 3-second lead over Luke Rosella, so after being nuts to butts before the pit stops, they've got a bit more of a gap now.
Well, that's all going to develop, because you might think they've played a blinder, but then they've short-fueled, or they haven't allowed themselves a new set of tyres or something like that could come back to bite them later on in the race. So they're both exiting line astern. That'll be a tasty little battle, won't it?
It will. Thomas McMillan giving no quarter and asking for none.
And not receiving 25 cents. Well, wasting no time. Jared Filsell down the inside on his new rubber.
I'll take that. And then Thomas McMillan says, no, I'll take that.
Ooh.
And then Jared says, no, I will attempt to take that. And Thomas McMillan says, no.
Oh, he nearly lost it. He's definitely trying very, very hard to stick to the behind of that Pleb Sim Sports car, and there is a bit of an attempt to do a bump and run there, I think.
A little bit of love languages touch for Jared Filsell, I think.
Sean Allen has pit, so Dane Warren has resumed the lead of the race.
With a 10-second lead over Colin Warwick.
Yeah, that's surprising, isn't it? Actually, not that surprising, I suppose.
Not surprising that it's over Colin
given the
Warwick.
times that he was setting. But
it's surprising that it's a 12 and 13-second lead over Ethan and Kurt Stenberg, respectively.
Well, the fact that Colin has jumped about 5 cars in the pits,
that is also mighty impressive.
It just suggests to me that he's done something that it almost seems cheeky, doesn't it?
It does. It feels like he's turned on a hack somewhere.
That's right. As we're watching this battle over 17th and 18th, or 18th and 19th place, once all the rest of the pit stops shake out, because these guys have taken their second pit stop.
Thomas McMillan managing to hold him off so far.
In fact, he's driving away from him a little bit down that straight.
Just dips a tyre in the grass. Well, who needs that grip anyway?
No.
Going into one of the heaviest right-hand wear corners in Australian motorsport.
Yeah, there was someone in the Discord during the week saying, you know, I need to do something for my setup. The front right's getting very hot. It's about 120 degrees. Colin just said to him, mate, that's Sydney Motorsport Park.
It's a long, hard left-hander.
It's a tyre punisher. So, as that battle rages on, the battle for second is converging slowly. It's not quite lit up just yet, but Ethan Warren is definitely chipping away on Colin Warwick, his teammate from the Bathurst 1000 for the last 2 years.
Starting to close that gap as well. There was about 3 seconds between the two of them.
Good job, Zach Baker up into 5th place. So he's also one who seems to have benefited from the pit stops.
He's just been having a quiet one. We haven't seen much of him.
Saw someone dropping down to the field, and I'm not quite sure
Dane Liccardo.
Who that was it Dane Liccardo potentially?
Yeah, Dane Liccardo in the pits.
Oh, good. I say good because it means it wasn't because he made some sort of off-track excursion as we cut away. I'm sorry about that. From the battle for second, heating up as Ethan Warren, geez, he's done that pretty easily, actually.
I reckon Colin didn't take tyres because that seemed like a very easy overtake for Ethan.
Well, I did postulate that there was something that he's done that he would have to pay for later.
He did postulate, not posthumously.
And Colin Warwick is not one to fight for a position that he knows he's going to lose anyway, so if he hasn't taken tyres, then that would make sense. He would just get out the way and try to nurse those tyres to his final pit stop.
He stopped in like lap 9, I think, didn't he, Colin Warwick? So he'd be looking for his...
It was about 11, I think, but let's see if we can find it on the live timing.
He'd be looking for his next stop quite soon.
It's still a bit early to make your last stop, even though I know we've seen Thomas McMillan and Jared Filsell do that. I beg your pardon, you were right, Mad Bird. It was lap 9.
Thank you.
So that was early, so 13 or so laps ago. So if he's struggling on tyres now, he needs to make it a little bit further if he's going to get to the end of the race with a similar length of stint to what he's currently on.
And gives up that position to Kurt Stenberg, who sets off after his teammate.
But he's well ahead of Luke Brozella and Corey McFarlane, who he was behind by quite some margin. So even though he's losing quite a few positions now, if he can keep ahead of Zach Baker, Corey McFarlane...
Well, you can see there, he's up 4 positions from his start. So even though he's losing those 2 positions, he's still net gained positions over the course of the race.
Now, meanwhile, Corey McFarlane has caught up to Zach Baker. I have a feeling Zach Baker's done the same thing.
Oh, no! Oh. And Corey's just put him in the fence.
Yeah.
Oh, that was a...
Oh, dear. It was not
good.
Not too good. So...
A little bit, well, very messy.
He was struggling with tyres as well. We called it as that at the time. Let's see maybe if we can get another view of that.
I think the reason we called it as that is because that's what it was.
All right, well, I'm willing to give Corey the benefit of the doubt here.
It was an awkward exit.
Bit wide.
But it looks like definitely...
Yeah, but it could have been... If he's struggling on tyres, he might have done that on his own. So we might need to get the onboard from Corey McFarlane before we throw him under the bus.
I'm a dedicated Zach Baker simp.
Are you?
And it was 100% Corey McFarlane's fault.
Oh, I'm adamant this year. I'm going to be a little bit more,
parochial.
No, not parochial.
I don't know what parochial means.
It means, one-eyed.
Oh no, so I'm being parochial. Very well.
Who am I looking for?
Corey McFarlane. This is on our other monitor,
as you
of course.
were. No, you stop taking him behind me, Kurt.
Well, you just said, who am I looking for? And Corey McFarlane was on our screen.
Fair enough.
So I reckon there's a little tap here.
Oh, you're right.
And then he just...
Oh, and a second one as well.
Yep, so as I said, 100% Corey McFarlane's fault.
Well, he might be in a little bit of trouble after that. It was, you know, it's when your tyres are on the edge, doesn't take much.
Luke Rosella, DNF.
Oh no, oh no.
What has happened? Because I just looked to see, and I was like, oh, he somehow hasn't gotten in front of Zach Baker. And the reason that he's not in front of Zach Baker is because he's no longer on the track.
It looks like a connection.
Oh no. Just a complete connection loss by the looks of it, coming down the start-finish straight, and
oh, that is so disappointing for Luke Rosella. So just trying to see if I can see him in our Discord. He's still there, so it might have just been a momentary connection drop. But
oh, that's a shame.
Got his microphone off, so I can understand. There's probably some words happening under there. So what a disastrous start to his championship campaign. I'm tipping him as a potential championship contender this year. Still, of course, a possibility. We have drop rounds in this championship.
We've got many races.
But you don't want to burn your drop round in the first round, do you?
Ideally, no. No, not the best. Meanwhile, at the front, Dane Warren is now in Dane Warren territory with an 11-second lead over his brother Ethan Warren, who's in second place. And he can just settle down and punch in those constant fast laps that we know Dane Warren is capable of. He didn't have the luxury of that early on in this race, having to tussle for the lead with the likes of Luke Rosella and Kurt Stenberg. Since the pit stops, he's pretty much had it all his own way. We've got 13 laps left to run, of course, so who knows what's going to happen. And I don't believe any of the top 7 have made their second pit stops.
Yeah, Colin Warwick has come in. He came in at lap 23, so that means he's got to do a 15-lap stint to get to the end of this race, and he did a 14-lap stint to get to lap 23.
And he looked like he was struggling by the end of that.
Could be touch and go for Colin there.
Although
actually, if he has changed tyres, which he probably has, and he didn't on the first stop, then he should be actually quite fine to make there.
Comfortable.
As long as he wasn't fuel limited. If he was fuel limited, then he's got another issue.
Doesn't he just?
Doesn't he just?
And it wouldn't be the first time we've seen Colin Warwick having to fuel save like someone that's on meal tickets
Zach Baker
for the last couple of laps.
So Zach Baker coming in, he was on a similar strategy to Colin, albeit at a very different part. And of course, we saw him get fed into the fence by Corey McFarlane about 2 laps ago, Madbird.
100% Corey McFarlane's fault.
Sorry, Corey. He's not. I mean, he's new.
I know he's not.
He's new. He's still learning.
No,
he's definitely got a turn of pace about him.
I'm blaming him with my tongue in cheek. I mean, it was 100% his fault, but I know it's not because he's a dirty racer. So if you're watching this, Corey, I like you.
I'm sure he'd be the first to admit that.
Oh, there goes Jared Philsell.
He's he's going backwards, and now he's going forwards.
Very well recovered.
But before that,
actually,
he was going backwards. That was skillful.
That was very well done.
And he's struggled with tyres early in his first stint, late in his first stint, I should say, and he's already had his second stop. So if he's struggling on, well, that wasn't tyres.
No, that was
just going wide and onto the grass. So
quite well done, actually. I'm a fan of that.
I think he hadn't got enough airtime.
Yeah,
he was trying to get my attention.
Guys, I'm used to being on the E-Series. I'm used to being, virtual Le Mans. No, he wasn't virtual Le Mans, but, I'm used to being in the Supercars official esports. And, you need to be showing me a bit more. So here's some fireworks. Here's Benjamin Dahlia, currently up in 5th place.
Doing a good job, actually. He's sort of gone a little bit under the radar.
I feel like he has not made a second pit stop as yet.
Yeah, well, before I pump his tyres up, let's check that, shall we?
Although I don't think any of our top few runners have made.
Yeah, so actually he is sort of relative to them there on merit, rather than by having not pitted. So he came in on lap 13. So he hasn't stopped for a second time. Yet. With
Sean Allen behind him. And it's actually equalised itself from qualifying. We were surprised to see Alex Cattle ahead of the other 2 AWG guys.
Sean we saw going for a very long first stint. So maybe that will give him some sort of benefit towards the end of the race.
We'll give you very fresh tyres, I suppose.
With the battle going on lower down in the in the field here with the
Timbits.
Maple Leaf Sim Sports car. He's sandwiched there in between Steve Warwick and Ben Hall. Just want to check where these guys are on strategy. I wish we had a way of it showing us when they stopped. You know, if the pits column actually showed them, rather than me having to go through. Colin Warwick. I'm looking for Steve Warwick here. Benjamin Daly is in the pits.
We are spoiled during our Bathurst commentary with having Joshua Bagsy over in Perth doing all the pit spreadsheet for us. That was very useful. I'll have to do that.
Maybe we should get him back more often.
Yeah.
So Cameron Parrott and Ben Hall coming into the pits. Jeez, they're very, very tight. There's a lot of trust you place on the car in front when you're doing that.
Yep, they're not going to slam on the brakes very early.
Exactly, well, because you don't know how. You might be practiced where to brake to get down to 40 kilometers an hour, but you don't know that they are. You know, they might be a little bit more circumspect than you, and if that is the case, then you're going to push them over the line, and that's going to be cause for a bit of words after the race finishes.
Cause for crash.
Yes.
Must be said.
Look, these two have continued to be next to each other.
Dane Warren has hit at some stage, down into 4th place now.
Yep.
So he's clear to the end of the race. Ethan Warren, Kurt, and Corey ahead of him. Obviously not as yet.
Well, we saw the two TTR guys go a bit longer in the first part of the race.
How did these guys swap around? I mean,
I think McMillan's
now.
either had an off or he just wants
a good race.
I think he might be slowing down to let Jared Filsell catch up after Jared had that moment on the grass earlier.
I guess it'd be a pretty big ego boost to Thomas McMillan to just continually overtake Jared Filsell and think, oh no, I'll let you go, mate, and then overtake him again. Oh yeah, I'll let you go, mate.
Honestly, wouldn't be surprised.
Oh no. Oh, and that was a big lag spike for Thomas McMillan that's dumped him about 4 seconds behind Jared Filsell. So that's put paid to that particular ego boost I was just postulating.
But Jared Filsell has had an off, whether that was on purpose or not. I think they are just racing each other.
I think so.
They don't appear to be trying to get points.
Oh my goodness. It's very scary going into turn 1, and they're both 4-wheel drifting. Oh,
sorry to cut away from that. The Kurt pit stop is in the Stenberg. Oh,
Kurt pit stop is in the Stenberg. Excellent. My goodness.
Just to cut back to that, you can see Ethan Warren in the back of that shot is catching up to these two to lap them shortly. So Ethan, I think, would be wise to pit on the next lap.
Yeah, definitely don't try to overtake these two on track.
Although the way they're door banging, he might catch up to them on this lap.
And they might just take each other off the track.
Kurt Stenberg is on the move. There's been a few other pit callers. I saw one of the AWG cars come in, and also I think it was the Cool Drive car, but I may be mistaken there.
So Dane Warren through and into the provisional lead once again. Kurt Stenberg well and truly not taking the lead.
No, not provisional lead, because we haven't seen Corey and Ethan pit yet. But we presumably will see that fairly shortly as we see Ethan just briefly in the back of this shot of these two warring larrikins.
Rabid animals.
Rabid animals.
As Thomas McMillan goes down the inside at the last corner. Jesus.
Oh, this is going to end in tears.
Oh, lordy me.
Look at that.
Ethan pit stop is in the Warren.
That was a prediction that I made that is true.
Isn't it just? As he makes his second pit stop. So just Corey McFarlane left of the front pack to make his pit stop.
Wouldn't be surprised to see him in this lap.
There he is, indeed. The Master Foods car.
There you go. So that
excellent sauce packets.
Dane Warren is going to retake the lead of the race, and shouldn't be too difficult for him to hold on for the end of the race. He's going to have a pretty decent gap. There he is. He's just put a lap down on Steve Warwick. A lap up on Steve Warwick, I should say.
You might just see a flash of his brother in the background there. I think we did on the way out of the pits, but Dane Warren's going to have an almighty lead Sean Allen, actually. Has Sean Allen made his second pit stop?
No, because remember he went a lot longer in his first stint, so it's going to put him out of sync a little bit. So Corey McFarlane is going to rejoin around about where he is now there, just ahead of Zach Baker. Quite a big gap, actually, between Zach Baker and Thomas McMillan. So despite Thomas McMillan and Jared Filsell's battling each other quite fiercely, they're still inside the top 10. But of course, well, there's Benjamin Daly having made his second stop, so that drops him quite a long way behind. But Benjamin Daly could catch that battle, and if they're not taking the battle as seriously as he is, I think Benjamin Daly might not have too much of an issue getting past them.
Especially not if they take each other out going through turn 1 or something similar.
Well, they're still side by side, joined at the hip.
Jeez.
I wouldn't be surprised to see a very bright green car range up on the back of them in very, very short order. And
oof.
There it is. There it is in the back of that shot.
Warney giving Jared a smack on the bum. Excellent spin.
Very good. Well, there's been a few spins from Jared Filsell.
There is Benjamin Daly, as you said, just looming large in the background. Kurt Stenberg 3 seconds behind Ethan Warren.
And who's that behind? It's Hans Brunswick as well. So we haven't actually talked about Hans during this race, but for all Australian races, I think he might be the leading AAR car. Isn't Corey McFarlane AAR? Beg your pardon, Corey McFarlane is the leading AAR car. Forgot that he's joined their stable, so good showing from Corey.
There is Benjamin Daly. He's definitely gaining leaps and bounds on these two.
Yeah, if we just look at the lap times, look, Corey's on an out lap, so that's significant too, because he's got fresh tyres, presumably. So these two...
Benjamin Daly last time around a 1:28.9. These two a 1:32.4 and a 1:32.2. So about 4 seconds that he gained on the previous lap.
But if they're side by side and paying attention only to each other, that's the danger from Benjamin Daly. I'd be treating the backside of those two cars very, very carefully indeed.
Oh, as would I.
As Kostecki goes down, as Filsell goes down the inside of McMillan.
Having a different name on the window is really throwing you, isn't it?
A little bit. That's not quite like the, what was the name you and Floody kept mixing up last year when you took over? It was...
That doesn't narrow it down.
Oh, you mixed it up multiple times. It was Corey Preston and Corey McFarlane, you kept calling him.
I believe it.
It happened multiple times during the broadcast. You made a thing of it. You appear to have forgotten it.
I have. I feel bad for Benjamin Daly because these two are side by side more often than not.
Where is he? Where is
it's
he?
making it very difficult for him to get through.
Well, it's backing him into Hans Brunswick, who's potentially spying an opportunity to make even 3 spots here if he can just let the waves part in the right way. Both of them going wide there. Benjamin Daly is trying to be so careful there.
And he's put Thomas McMillan in the fence. Oh, not quite in the fence, but
he's
close enough.
Kept it out of it. I think Benjamin Daly was just keeping his distance so that he wouldn't get caught up in their accident. But in the end, they kept backing themselves into him that he had no choice.
They just continued to bring the accident back into him.
But there was front to rear contact there. Do you think that there'll be anything to answer for?
I feel like Thomas McMillan's not the sort of person to report it.
But it was on the broadcast, and there is an automatic report system in place, I believe, if it does get caught on the broadcast. So if you do get penalised for that, Benjamin Daly, apologies, I was looking at it. It's my fault.
Yeah, and Hans Brunswick's probably thinking, excellent, I'm now on the back of you.
Yes, exactly, and Hans Brunswick would definitely be happy with that.
And Jared Filsell, now without his buddy,
now he's got real racing. Not to say that Thomas McMillan isn't a real racing competitor.
So Colin Warwick, still in 4th place, so somehow has done a blinder of a strategy.
I'd watch out for Corey towards the end there because he's still got to make those tyres last to the end of the race. Although actually we figured out that he's probably not that much on tyres.
Yeah, if he didn't use his, if he didn't change to
Aiden Sykes has just
DNF'd
in front of us. That was fortuitous timing to catch that on
the broadcast.
But unfortuitous for poor Aiden Sykes. He becomes our second retirement from this race after Luke Rosella DNF'd about 10 laps ago. This is the battle we're looking at. Benjamin Daly and Jared Filsell. Now the fact that Thomas McMillan has been taken out of this fight has made this job harder for Benjamin Dahlia. But he's going to go down the inside. That's the line that we saw Jared Filsell take in qualifying. The late apex out of the final corner to launch yourself on the straight. He's trying to break the slipstream, but, well, they're both getting towed along by it. It's like the Winter Olympics when you watch the ice skating and they push each other just ever so slightly on the bum to get faster.
I've never watched the Winter Olympics in my life.
Well, they never used to do this, and I heard it was a strategy. And this is a strategy. Benjamin Dahlia going around the outside of turn 2. If he can get to the inside before the next corner first, then he'll give himself a good opportunity, but he doesn't quite manage to do that, and it gave Hans Brunswick a very slight chance.
What blows my mind is that, as Hans has a look down the inside of turn 5, what blows my mind is that Jared Filsell spent the better part of 10 laps destroying his tyres, you know, fighting with Thomas McMillan lap after lap and doing who knows what to his rims, and now he's still got the tyre life to battle for this position with Benjamin Dahlia.
Sorry, I'm just looking at the other screen because this is Dane Warren trying to get past David Nenovich and Dane Liccardo, who are... He's trying to lap them. This is not for position, and they're fighting each other very, very hard indeed, and they really should just let Dane Warren through. They have now, and Dane Warren will be hoping he can drive away from them very quickly so they get
speared into the wall by
and they can resume their battle, which looked like it was going off.
Going off.
It was. Big slide there for Nenovich, and he nearly saves it, but then it flips over the other way, so Dane Liccardo will be very pleased with that. David Nenovich lets so. As we rejoin this battle between Benjamin Dahlia and Jared Filsell. Goodness me, I don't know where to look. My eyes, I need more of them.
Benjamin Dahlia going around the outside has got to try to get it tied up, not go off the track. He manages that, but now Jared Filsell has the...
Yeah, he tried to turn in. There was a car there, and Hans Brunswick is the beneficiary there. Hans Brunswick is very, very happy with how that's panning out for him right now.
I feel bad for Benjamin Dahlia.
Yeah,
sneaking up onto the back of the battle between Jared and Thomas.
He woke them up. He woke them up. And Hans Brunswick is now looking like he might be able to get around the outside of Jared Filsell. Sweet move from Hans Brunswick there.
To add insult to injury for Benjamin Dahlia, yeah, Hans Brunswick just sweeps through on Jared Filsell like it's nothing.
I don't think that's the end of the battle, though.
No, I don't believe so.
For one moment, that's the end of that battle. Oh, this is great.
For anyone that's just joined us, 4 laps left in this race, but we do have one more race tonight. A night race, in fact, so that'll be exciting.
So here he is down the inside. Filsell's not given up on that position. It's like he's got a bit more fuel in his cell.
Not going to dignify that with anything.
You did. You just did.
Damn it. As they go around the last one. Damn it!
My goodness.
And they are once again line astern coming down the start-finish straight. There's 5 laps left to run, and I don't know which of these 3 is going to end in the lead of this particular battle.
If any.
Yes.
Well, by definition, someone has to, but...
what if they all DNF at the exact same moment?
Is it going to end in tears?
So, Hans Brunswick managing to hold on to it at this stage, getting a little bit of love language on the rear bumper from Jared Filsell. And Benjamin Dahlia just sitting there stewing.
Stewing indeed.
So, you know what? I could have had that, but I don't. And he's probably very annoyed about it. Jared Filsell going very deep there through turn 5. And Benjamin thinks that he has an option, but he doesn't. My goodness.
Yeah, so Hans has got a bit of a break there. So this is giving a, well, I don't know if it's giving...
What happened to Benjamin?
Has he just dropped out?
He's dropped down. He's now behind Thomas McMillan.
He still seems to be tracking.
So, yeah, there he is. He's behind Thomas McMillan now.
That seems like some sort of lag spike.
Oh, no. Or he may have gone deep. It was going through that right
hand. Oh, it was.
Yep,
beg your pardon. So he just missed that. Sorry, apologies.
I think the camera cut perfectly to miss that particular oversteer.
That's why we thought it was a lag spike. So, no damage done. Tyres a bit
Tyres will probably
worse
be
for wear.
Upset, yeah.
Definitely. And that's sort of put paid there to Benjamin Dahlia's charge.
Dane Warren catching up to another of the AWG drivers. I believe it's Sean Allen.
Looks like Alex Cattle from just reading the name on the windscreen. Yes, that is Alex Cattle in the 25 car.
sensibly gets out of the way. Well, Dane Warren, we haven't really discussed much.
Sorry, I've cut away from him just to see if Hans Brunswick is able to process the traffic there. He's got RSM Latino just up in the front of him. I'm not sure exactly what Hans's best result in this championship is, but 8th has got to be pretty close to it, I would think, and especially in such a high field strength. High strength of field is what the iRacing term is.
High strength of field.
Yeah. Well, you know, like Dane and Ethan Warren, Kurt Stenberg, Colin Warwick, Corey McFarlane,
Luke Rosella.
Top 5 are all winners in this championship. Somehow Zach Baker isn't a winner in this championship, but he's very close to being one.
No idea how he hasn't managed to sneak one.
So out of the top 7, Zach Baker is the only one who hasn't won a race, but he holds a lap record from Bathurst in 2019.
Really should have won that race.
Just didn't go his way, as we've got a bit more drama for Dane Warren trying to lap cars. That's Turmo in the Cool Drive car, sensibly jumping out of the way there. He'll be carrying a little bit of damage from that incident that we saw a little bit earlier on when trying to lap Dane Liccardo
and David
Nedich. Yeah. So he's coming up to start his final lap of the race, Dane Warren. It's been, aside from sort of the first 10 laps, it's kind of all been his own way, but
what we'd expect from Dane Warren.
It's only a 10-second victory. So he's definitely had bigger ones in the past. I think he won't mind whether it's by an inch or a mile.
Winning is winning.
It's been a strong return to this championship for Dane Warren for Coanda Sim Sport in the VRS car.
And at the moment, looking good for a Warren 1-2.
Definitely. So Dane Warren's brother Ethan Warren starting his campaign the way he means to continue, presumably. And a good start for Trans-Tasman Racing, double podium, 2nd and 3rd. Could they potentially win the Teams Championship this year? Very early days, of course, but
it helps having 2 regular drivers.
Definitely.
Jake Maloney didn't pitch in too much for TTR last season.
Yeah, did the odd race, but haven't really seen much of him since the very first year, where it looked like Jake Maloney would potentially be a championship winner in 2019, but just fell off and just didn't quite do the races. But tonight's all about one man so far, Dane Warren. Here he is, making a statement and winning the opening round if he can keep it on the black stuff. He's doing some theatrics there in a very entertaining style. Dane Warren comes across to win the opening round in Sydney.
Very well done. Dominant style for Dane Warren. Brother Ethan is going to come home in 2nd place, followed by teammate Kurt Stenberg, who was in the lead, or fighting for the lead rather, at one stage. And Colin Warwick, who somehow, we still don't know, and Corey McFarlane did catch up to him right at the end.
I did say watch that space, didn't I?
Colin with a blinder of a strategy, managing to jump several positions up into 4th place. Corey McFarlane down into 5th.
Got a gap to the next car, which is Zach Baker. As Corey McFarlane, geez, one more lap, he might have had a chance. As far as their last lap times, it was about a 1.2 second difference. Corey McFarlane was catching up to Colin Warwick, so Colin did a very good job at spacing those pit stops apart. I think that's the maximum he could possibly get, considering the gap between Colin and Kurt in the end was about 14 seconds. So perfectly judged from Colin Warwick.
Sean Allen, good recovery. Up 6 positions from his qualifying position.
Hans Brunswick is going to finish 8th after just perfectly getting through the traffic in that battle.
Up 8 positions.
And a sweet move around the outside of Jared Filsell. I'm sure he'll want to watch that one back.
Any move on Jared Filsell is probably one you want to watch back. Thomas McMillan recovering to 9th.
Got ahead of Benjamin Dahlia in the end.
He did. After Benjamin's issue that we saw, Jared Filsell enters in 11th, so not quite in the top 10.
That's one of the most entertaining 11th places I've ever seen, as he gives a show to those who finished in front of him.
My goodness.
Turmo for the Cool Drive finished in 12th place. And then we had Alex Cattle, David Nedich, who's currently pushing Ethan Warren home. So Ethan Warren
that marginal
perfectly judged his fuel. Dane Liccardo finished in 5th place, and then we had Benjamin Hall, Steve Warwick Cameron Parrott, Brapp, and Arasim Latino. So 20 finishes out of 22 starters. That's a pretty decent rate there.
Happy with that.
And that's race 1. So we've got the longer race out of the way. Now we've got the sprint to go.
Yep, so half the distance, 19 laps, and in the night. So makes a pretty big difference in terms of you know, your braking points and your track awareness and all that sort of stuff. It's all very different in the night time. Much harder to follow someone, and not a particularly well-lit track unless they've done some modification to it. And I'm not sure that they have. There's not really much in the way of lighting around SMP, but I suppose we'll see once we're into the race itself.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's race 1 run and done. And that just leaves the small matter of race number 2, not too far away from now. So a little bit of a reminder of the results. Dane Warren winning that race from pole position. He set the fastest lap of a 1:27.185. It wasn't quite the pace that we've seen from him in years past. He wasn't able to match his track record from 2020 of a 1:26.285. But who can begrudge him that? He was very consistent throughout the race. Aside from getting quite a bit of pressure at the start, he was able to manage his tyres in a way that meant that he ended up with a 10-second victory over Ethan Warren. His brother, Kurt Stenberg, in 3rd place. Didn't have the greatest of qualifyings, but a great start up into 3rd. And so in the end, Kurt Stenberg finishing 3rd. I think he would be quite pleased with that, finishing ahead of Colin Warwick. So Colin Warwick, the strategy blinder, I'd have to say, from Colin Warwick, starting all the way back in 8th place, I believe it was, down on the 4th row of the grid. He came in early for his first stop, didn't change tyres by the looks of it, and then went quite long for his last 2 stints, and that jumped him about 3 or 4 spots. He definitely hurt towards the end of both stints in that race with the tyre wear as it was, but he was behind a gaggle of cars that were fighting each other, and that pit stop that pit stop strategy of not changing his tyres meant that he was able to get out of their squabble and probably save quite a bit of time on that. There were lots of other battles up and down the front, some of which we didn't get the chance to see. We saw that David Nenadic and Dane Liccardo were having a terrific battle with each other. Unfortunately, that came to an end just as we saw them getting lapped by Dane Warren. And that was David Nenadic spinning in the end that put an end to that one. Dane Liccardo in the end finishing in... what position is that? Doesn't have any numbers on that screen, but a little bit
useful, isn't it?
down there. Looks like Dane actually fell behind David Nenadic in the end, so we didn't see exactly why that was.
It's a good problem to have, having too many battles to look at. And a very good field for the first race with 22 cars starting, so hopefully everyone stuck around for the second one. And hopefully Lachlan Burke has managed to get back in as well, having had a power issue.
We want to see that Napa car, and I think Lachlan might have been one of our cars, one of our drivers that had a webcam. So if we can get him back in, then we'll definitely be looking to show him on screen.
Love this new technology we've got as of Bathurst with the webcams that some of our drivers are so generously streaming for us.
Yeah, we appreciate all of our drivers who have been able to show their webcam. So far we've had Luke Rosella and Kurt Stenberg on stream.
Gives you a bit of... you can see how hard they're working at it. Especially Kurt Stenberg. It's no wonder that he's wiped out at the end of a race, because he looks like he's gripping that wheel for dear life.
I would be equally wiped out, if not more so actually, because he's used to it. And he drives for a living as well in Perth as a courier driver, so just loves driving.
Is absolutely his life. Top to bottom.
I wonder if he drives his courier car in the same way.
Loves it.
So we're just waiting for the next session to roll through. And it won't be too much longer before we get a qualifying session underway. It'll be the same format as the qualifying session for the first race, which was 10 minutes.
Which went past pretty quick. Especially when you got 22 cars out there. They fill up the pit lane very, very quickly.
Need some music in this room, like we do in that previous screen. Otherwise, it just feels a bit quiet now. We've settled down a little bit.
We want to listen to our voices.
Well, yes.
Not
exactly
the music. Right. We just need to do a little bit of ASMR.
Oh, yeah?
People...
Some close talking right up in here.
Hello, everybody.
This is Automobilista Supercars Championship.
You can see there on the left that the qualifying session has almost begun.
Yeah, it's 10 minutes for that one.
Yeah, and 10 minutes.
See, they call it ASMR.
What does ASMR stand for?
Something...
Audio...
Meridian response or something?
I'll Google it right now.
But it used to be, you know, like my folks when I was growing up, they used to listen to ABC Classic FM, and there was a jazz show on Saturday afternoons that Dad used to listen to. And it was, the guy's name was something like Miles, which is, of course, a jazz DJ's name.
It sounds like it, yeah.
Right. Hello and welcome to Jazz. My name is Miles. Today I'll be playing you the best of Bing Crosby. He was a very, very good saxophonist. And here it is.
Yeah.
And, you know, it was just so relaxing, you know?
Yeah, and it had some content. It wasn't just someone going...
But then the jazz started.
I don't mind jazz.
No, I joke, actually.
Some jazz
I
can
like
be
jazz
quite...
too,
yeah. I've been to... Well, like, you know, there's nothing quite in the world like sipping a very expensive whiskey and listening to some live jazz to make you feel like a man in the 50s.
Well, that revving sound puts an end to our jazz show, and we're going to get started in the second qualifying session. Here's a reminder of the racetrack, Madbird.
Yeah, just in case you'd forgotten, 3.93 kilometers anti-clockwise. It has 11 turns, all of which I think are turns.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you there.
Unlike most of the tracks, I don't have any controversial.
The trouble with turn names here is that since they've added different sections to the track, there is a dispute over some of the turn names as to, you know, whether you count them if you use different versions of the racetrack.
You can hear the pit lane's just gotten very busy.
It has. And it is dusk now, so it is getting darker as we head into this night race for race 2. Now, race 2, just one compulsory pit stop, 19-lap race.
So exactly half what it was for the first race. But, of course, with the extra complication that it will be at night, Thomas McMillan once again leads us out.
There you go. So he just loves being on track, doesn't he?
For those playing at home, ASMR stands for Autonomous Sensory Meridian Response.
I got the meridian part.
I could have sworn that A would have stood for, like, audio or something, but apparently not. It is a tingling sensation that usually begins on the scalp and moves down the back of the neck.
So autonomous suggests that it means that it's automatic?
Yeah, when you hear a particular vibration or tone of sound, I suppose. You feel that sort of ooh down the back of your neck.
Yeah. In case you've got no idea what we're talking about, it's that sort of sensation where people sort of lick the microphone and make sort of sounds very close in your ears. I don't know how it came to be, but I discovered it by accident when a friend of mine who's an audio engineer told me about this virtual haircut thing where it sort of sounds like you put these headphones on and it sounds like someone's cutting your hair on one side and then it feels like it's on the other side.
That still blows my mind.
Yeah.
It's very, that was like, three-dimensional audio recording. There's the ever-present Tim Hortons car in the background. But yeah, you hear the right next to your ear of the scissors, and it sort of makes you go, ooh, that's very close to my ears. But really, it's all audio. Thomas McMillan starts his hot lap.
Yep, getting the airtime.
As
we detailed earlier in the night.
For anyone that didn't know Shane Warne was dead, definitely knows now.
I think most of us do know now. It's hard to avoid the news. Although my colleague was telling me she found out on Saturday night, which I think was that was quite late.
Yeah.
That was about a day after it happened.
I told my mum, who was quite surprised. Not that she's an avid cricket fan, but she She also knew who Rod Marsh was, who I had no idea who Rod Marsh was, but I guess that's more
same
her.
era as Joel Garner. Or
Yes. And she definitely knows who Joel
Your mother
Garner
has a
was.
story about Joel Garner.
She does indeed.
West Indian fast bowler.
I'm not sure. Oh, she probably won't listen to this. She had the opportunity to sleep with Joel Garner and turned it down. That's the story.
Silly.
Silly. Is that your opinion, is it?
Well, you know, just...
Would you have turned down Joel Garner?
Yes. Yeah.
But for different reasons, probably.
Well, you know, like, I've heard of, like, what's that video where there's, like, I haven't seen it, but I've heard there's a video where this guy gets killed by a horse.
In the way that I'm picturing?
Because, I don't want to be too graphic, but because the horse is a lot larger than the person, it just wasn't meant to be. And there was a lot of blood.
You feel that Joel Garner would have had a similar effect on your supple little body?
Yes.
Thomas McMillan down in 7th place.
Apologies to all the laps from drivers who we've just ignored.
My goodness. Thomas McMillan definitely not happy with that. He's gone straight back to the pits. Dane Warren has set the fastest lap, surprising no one. Luke Rosella second once again. So these two seemingly are going to be joined at the hip once again. Kurt Stenberg third. Where is the currently not present Ethan Warren? Down in 15th place. Hasn't set a lap time as yet.
Yeah, he's on his out lap by the looks of it, just in Sector 3. As we watch Dane Warren, who is already on pole by 0.4 of a second over Luke Rosella. So this one already playing out quite similarly to how qualifying session for race 1 played out.
Still hasn't beaten his quali record from 2020, a 126.6. And I don't think he got his track record of 126.2 during the previous race.
Dane Warren in 2020 was something else.
He was a force of nature.
And because he's spent quite a bit of time racing in other sims, it's going to take a little bit of time for him to reacquaint himself with Automobilista, I should think. But
we say after he just got a 10-second victory in the first race.
Good job from Corey McFarlane, who's just jumped up into second place.
Yeah, less than a 10th behind Dane Warren.
I feel Dane Warren might be about to move the goalposts.
And he does.
He does indeed.
Oof.
27 point, my God, that's 0.4 faster than he did before. So that is very, very good work from Dane Warren.
We're halfway through this qualifying session.
He's fallen all the way down to 15th place. Here's RSM Latino.
I feel like Thomas McMillan fuels himself for one hot lap and then just goes back to the pits, which is a very inefficient way of doing it.
But it depends if you want to really maximise the, the fuel weight or the lack of fuel weight. That's potentially what.
You're
putting a lot of pressure on yourself to do it in one attempt, though, aren't you?
Yeah, and you're doing a lot of outlaps where you're wasting time essentially.
Not maximising your track time in 10 minutes. 10 short minutes we have, and also putting a lot of pressure on yourself to find a gap on track where you're not held up by traffic. Big wobble there for Colin Waring.
21 drivers in the session, so we've lost one. I'm not sure who it was. Just having a look, and no name is jumping out at me as being absent.
I can't see Lachlan Burke.
No, but he wasn't in the first race either.
No, but he was in qualifying, I thought.
No,
Didn't we have 23 at one point?
I think we did, and then he had his power drop.
That's a shame.
So he wasn't able to take part, and I think he may not have stuck around. I'm seeing a comment about Joel Garner.
Maybe Joel Garner's kid would be more interesting than these guys, sorry.
Oof.
Wow. Not sure if he's referring to us or the drivers on track, but anyway.
Either way, that's an oof. And respectfully disagree.
Let that one go through to the keeper.
3 minutes left in this session. Ethan Warren currently down in 4th place, with Kurt Stenberg down in 7th. So Kurt with a bit of improving to do if he wants to start on the second row once again.
Ethan Warren's up by 0.3 on his PB, so where he is sat currently, that would vault him up into second place. Because he's only a couple of tenths behind Corey McFarlane and Luke Rosella. So Ethan Warren trying to steal a bit of slipstream from Jared Filsell there.
Any little bit helps, and he does jump up into second place.
4.5 tenths in the end.
Nearly half a second.
He's cut that gap to his brother quite significantly there, hasn't he?
He has indeed. Dane Warren is out on track, just going through into the second sector as we speak. So getting past the ever-present Tim Horton's car.
Driven by Cameron Parrott.
Which appears to be ever-present, hence the nickname.
Yeah, he's down by half a tenth through the first sector is Dane Warren.
Looked like a very busy first sector for him, so probably had a few cars to negotiate.
A little bit of traffic.
And he's got some more ahead of him, so...
He's got a decent bit of pace to find to jump down into those 26s.
Yeah, there has been some changes in the tyre modelling since 2020, I think.
Yeah.
So it's very possible that he won't be capable of getting down.
I think
to
he's
those
backed out of that. Yeah, 1.7.
Yeah. So he'll be hopefully gearing up for a good exit from this corner.
Launch himself onto another lap. See who else is on a lap. Kurt Stenberg currently trying to improve on 7th place, and he's going about that the right way by 2.5 tenths of a second on his PB there.
Still only put him up into 5th.
Yeah, so he needs to find a bit more time than that. Although,
as he four-wheel drifts around the last corner.
That's going to cost time all the way down the straight there. So
not ideal.
I think he might still improve, but only by half a tenth or so, potentially, as he comes across the line there.
A quarter of a tenth.
Quarter of a tenth. That was close.
You were close. It was half of the half.
Exactly there, but he's still 1 second off provisional pole time set by Dane Warren.
So 1 minute left to go. So Kurt, this will be his last opportunity to improve.
Hopefully he hasn't already used the best of those tyres.
Yeah, down in 8th place. Not where you expect Kurt Stenberg to be.
It's not been the disastrous start to a championship defence that he had in 2021.
No.
In 2020, I should say.
Goodness me, no. He is up on his PB by about 1.5 tenths.
And as we'll keep the tabs on that. Here's Dane Warren as well, who is a little bit further into a lap. Let's see if he moves those goalposts. Can't see any other purple sectors by any other drivers, but Dane Warren is set at 27.4 in the first sector, which is the fastest first sector by anyone in this qualifying session, and he's again up by a tenth through the second sector there.
Around the last corner he goes. He will not have the opportunity to do another lap as the timer clicks down to 0. Will he move the goalpost once again? I reckon he will, and he does by 1.5 tenths.
He got close to those 26s, just not quite. Only half a tenth off.
Luke Rosella and Ethan Warren making some late gains, jumping up into 2nd and 3rd place respectively.
Kurt Stenberg
down into 4th.
To the line goes Kurt and improves to 4th. That's quite a large improvement. He's found 6 tenths of a second there, and Luke Rosella is on a decent lap as well.
Poor Corey McFarlane, who was in 2nd, now down in 5th.
Now Luke Rosella's up by a tenth, but he needs a lot more than that to jump in front of Dane Warren, but just trying to see if there's anyone else on track who could potentially drop him out of 2nd. He might be solidifying his position if that's the case.
Ethan Warren is still on a lap by the looks of it.
Yeah, so we'll see if we can find out what Ethan Warren is doing. He's just coming out of the final corner now, so we'll catch up with Ethan and see if he's going to jump up ahead of Luke Rosella. He's only 8 milliseconds up the road, and Ethan Warren can't improve. Has he just done a time exactly the same as the one he'd already done?
0 is it? Well, it's a green time, so the next decimal must be a negative.
Wow.
But that is
Luke's given up on that. He knows now.
Doesn't need to worry about it.
Doesn't need to do that. Save the tyres. Don't know if he'll need those tyres.
No, there's unlimited tyre sets, I believe. So
they've definitely run limited tyres in the past, but
Dane Warren with the 2nd pole position of the evening. Luke Rosella with a second place of the evening. And Ethan Warren and Kurt Stenberg once again the 2nd row, but in the opposite order to the way they were in the first race.
Yeah, good job from Kurt there. He was languishing down around 8th or 9th for a good portion of that.
Clutch last lap.
Yeah, clutch last lap. Oops.
Oh, that's some excellent Sky.
Goodness me.
Big Pond. That's a name I don't think about very much these days.
Yeah, my parents are with them, so...
Really?
Yeah.
I don't hear about anyone being with Big Pond. I guess Big Pond is probably... My parents are with them is probably a very common statement said about Big Pond.
They're a boomer ISP, aren't they?
Remember iPrimus?
Oh, goodness.
Yeah. Goodness me.
I'd be lying if I said I'd thought about them for for quite some time.
Big pond.
Big
Isn't
pond.
Big pond a lake?
Well, I suppose it would be, wouldn't it?
Or a tarn?
It's like like a large creek as a river.
Well, exactly.
A tarn?
Yeah. That's TARN. It's a mountain pond / lake.
There's a lot of ambiguity there.
I imagine there's probably a scientific, determination for what constitutes a pond.
Potentially. Let's have a quick reminder of what happened in that qualifying session before we jump into race number 2. Dane Warren setting pole position with a 26... No, is that right? 26.7?
Yeah.
Didn't think he got into the 26s in the end.
He must have snuck in at the very end. But still not good enough. Not quite good enough. A 26.6 was the quali record, so still a tenth and a bit off doing that one. Luke Rosella managing to get another second place in qualifying. Corey McFarlane third once again. So very consistent, the top few, with Kurt Stenberg and Ethan Warren once again down in... Wait, no, this isn't the qualifying
No, that's
results.
right, because Kurt did...
Kurt and Ethan got ahead of Corey McFarlane. We are looking at the wrong...
Yeah, I think that's the race 1 qualifying.
Aha.
Hasn't updated on our screen, so apologies there.
Aha.
Dane Warren is the pits, is the pole sitter.
Of course. That was never in dispute. And Luke Rosella is second. There we go.
There we go, yeah.
Ethan
So
Warren
Dane
and Kurt
from
Stenberg.
Luke. Now that's the same front row we had in the first race. But Ethan Warren in third place ahead of Kurt Stenberg in fourth. And then Corey McFarlane and Jared Philsell. Colin Warwick, it is very similar to the qualifying order that we had in race 1 though. Thomas McMillan, Zach Baker, Benjamin Dahlia. Then we've got Hans Brunswick, David Nedevich ahead of Dane Liccardo, Ben Hall, Sean Allen, Termo, Cameron Parrott, RSM Latino, and Brapp.
I mean, it looks like Kobe Williams, Steve Warwick, and Alex Cattle did not set lap times. Kobe Williams being a privateer.
Yeah, Kobe Williams joining us in this race, who wasn't with us in the first race. And looks like he's got a bit of a wild card entry because I don't see him on the entry list there. So
He has been in Discord, so I reckon
he has, and
they had
he
a
did
spare
sign
spot.
up for the series.
Yeah,
as
they
well.
had a spare spot, so they said hop on in. And it's Luke Rosella starting out from second. And in the first race, managed to get the jump, have a much better start than Dane Warren. Managed to get it into turn 1. So he'll be hoping to do the same thing over again, I would expect. And then Ethan Warren and Kurt Stenberg behind in row number 2 once again. So that was very tasty. That was a good recipe for a tasty battle over the first few laps in the first race.
And a shorter race for race 2, so it should be less limited by tyres or fuel. Just about when you make that stop, really. So they can, if they really wanted to, take that pit stop at the end of lap 1 when the pit lane opens. But they have to make sure that they finish all of their pit stops by lap 15 when the pit lane closes. So bad luck if you get 15 laps into the 19-lap race and forget to make your pit stop.
I feel like at that stage you deserve it to a certain extent.
If you forgot, I mean, haven't you done that when we were racing in the F1 Codemasters game?
No comment. I know
Get to the last lap. Oh, I've forgotten to change tyres.
I know our friend Xeris has definitely done that, or forgotten to
yeah.
use 2 compounds, and it's gotten to the end and gone, oh, I've only used primes.
Definitely.
Here is...
Sorry about that.
My goodness. Here is the circuit information.
Got to fix that keybind. Tell you what.
He's making a note fiercely as we speak. Anti-clockwise, 3.93 kilometres. Dane Warren holds the qualifying and track records. Turns 1, 2, and 3. And then turns 4, 5, 6, and 7. And then, I'm going to shock you viewers. Following turn 7, it's turn 8, 9, 10, and 11. And that is all she wrote.
Really?
Yep. Look, I've described this track so many times, Stairs.
There are superlatives that you run out of.
Previous winners, Kurt Stenberg and Corey McFarlane, who are both in the top 5. And, of course, now Dane Warren.
Goodness, look at all those cars.
There they are.
There, look at all those cars.
Where is Luke Rosella? Hopefully.
He might not have might not have gridded up. There he is.
Blah,
Blah blah blah. My goodness. Heavens.
Bravo.
Heavens to Murgatroyd.
Heavens to Bitsy. We are free at last. As you can see there, all revving their engines for the formation lap. Dane Warren takes his second pole position in as many races. Starting out from pole for the second race, Luke Rosella once again behind him in second place, hoping to get the shot into turn 1 as he did on the previous occasion. The two Trans-Tasman Racing cars in the second row, Ethan Warren and Kurt Stenberg, reversed from the positions they were in the previous race, with Corey McFarlane in 5th place at a decent showing. Can he hold on this time to that leading pack? Jared Filsell, who we saw having a whale of a time with Thomas McMillan towards the end of that race, is starting out from 6th place. In 7th place, we have got Colin Warwick, who did an absolute blinder of strategy, managed to finish 4th in the first race, so hoping he can pull off a similar trick. Thomas McMillan starting out in 8th place in that VB Shane Warne. I keep wanting to say Sean Wan liveried car. In 9th place, we have got Zach Baker in the first of the ZB Racing cars. Benjamin Dahlia in the first AWG car, starting out from 10th place. In 11th, we have got David Nenadich. Nope, sorry, we've got Hans Brunswick in the first of the AAR. No, second of the AAR cars, following Corey McFarlane.
None of them look the same.
No, it's confusing me very much.
Yeah.
In 12th place, we have got David Nenadich in the second of the ZB Racing cars. In 13th, we have got Dane Liccardo, Evolution Racing Team. Had a decent scrap towards the end of the previous race, so some decent racecraft shown from Dane Liccardo. In 14th, we've got Ben Hall in that lovely Luke McHugh tribute livery. In 15th, we've got Sean Allen starting out from 15th, where we expect him to be higher up than that. 16th for Termo in the Cool Drive Auto Parts. In 17th, we've got Cameron Parrott in the ever-present Tim Hortons liveried car.
And Luke Hall's just bold and wide.
Ben Hall,
beg your pardon.
Giving a little bit more airtime to his livery, perhaps. RSM Latino in 18th, Rapp in 19th, Steve Warwick, father of the soon-to-be father Colin Warwick, down in 20th. Kobe Williams in the privateer, which actually has stuff on it, which is handy. And Alex Cattle rounds out the grid of 22 cars once again. A full field for race number 2 here at night. Actually quite well lit out there, so I don't imagine the night itself is going to make too much of a difference to the racing. Is it going to be another win for Dane Warren?
We'll find out. And the revs are rising. You can hear once again that we're about to get racing. And off they go. It's a pretty even start, but marginally better there from Luke Rosella once again. So he's going to have the outside line, but Dane Warren on the inside has had a better second phase of the start, which will give him the inside for turn 2. And the two TTR cars in behind having a look.
Yep, and it looks like Kurt Stenberg looking down the inside of Luke Rosella going into turn 2. Gives him a little bit of a bump. Shoulder barges him out of the way and into second place. Ethan Warren having a look as well, but Luke's going to cover that off, hold on to that third place. Dane Warren, meanwhile, managing to hold on to that lead, but Kurt Stenberg right onto his bumper as they go into turn 5. And looks as if Kurt Stenberg is trying to put the pressure on early.
So great start there from Dane Warren. Luke Rosella not able to capitalise on a good initial launch. And he's going down the inside of Kurt Stenberg.
Doesn't look like it's going to come off well for him. Kurt Stenberg holds onto that place, and once again, them squabbling over these positions is going to give Dane Warren the opportunity to dance off into the distance, which we know he likes to do. 0.7 of a second currently the gap.
Yeah, if they fight each other early on, it's going to be an easy drive for Dane Warren, but I wouldn't write them off just yet. As we look at Kurt Stenberg, pretty clean start. Pretty much everyone has come through without too much damage. I'm just making my way through the field to see who the big movers are. Cameron Parrott up 3 spots. Kobe Williams up 6 spots he spins.
As he loses those 6 spots, I assume.
I'm sorry, Kobe. I've given you the curse. My absolute apologies. Let's have a look at what happened there.
My absolute apologies. Now let's watch it again.
Well, it was a fantastic start from Kobe Williams, so he must be commended on that. This that you're about to see is completely irrelevant to the great start that we just saw from Kobe Williams.
Kurt Stenberg just had an almighty moment going through the hairpin, lost himself a bucket load of time, but managed to hold on to that second position. And Dane Warren now a second off in the lead.
Kobe's out, and we've got pit callers by the looks of it.
On lap 2, my goodness, and Dane Liccardo by the looks of it.
I wonder if those two have been in the wars, because that's, unless that was a strategy to get out of the traffic. I'll be very interested to see whether that is the strategy that they went into the race thinking that they would do. Well, time will tell. It is a long stint.
I thought I saw Luke Rosella spearing off into the wall. I did not, thankfully.
Thankfully there.
Corey McFarlane doing a good job hanging on to the back of Ethan Warren, as Dane Warren is now 1.3 seconds up the track. So it's all looking very similar to the Dane Warren we know and love from season 2020, just disappearing off into the distance.
Well, he got his eye in with that first race, didn't he?
He did. And Luke Rosella again had a good start, but just wasn't quite able to get the crossover to get into the lead before turn 1.
It's very hard to make that move in turn 1 and make it stick. You have to think that turn 2 is turn 1, really. Turn 1 is just an opportunity to set up the pass at 2.
Ethan having a go on Luke Rosella down into turn 2, but Luke managing to hold on to it.
A little bit further down, Thomas McMillan holding down 6th place, and then behind him his sparring partner from the first race, Jared Filsell, who's got Colin Warwick and Zach Baker immediately behind him. And once again, lots of sideways action there for Jared Filsell. Absolutely loving his return to Automobilista.
Yeah, he's doing very, very well, considering it's not a sim that he usually drives. Behind him we have got Colin Warwick, who has lost a couple of positions from the start by the looks of it. Lost 1 position, in fact, which probably was Jared Filsell. I see some flashing in the background. Someone wasn't happy.
Yeah, so the track fully lit, so no need for headlights. The series tells their drivers not to use the headlights because it does stress some people's computers, and they want to make sure that they have the least amount of technical dramas in these races as they possibly can. It's one of those things that you learn more about the more you run a series like this, and there's lots of trial and error that happens.
It is a shame. The night races that we've done in the past certainly were fraught with danger.
Yeah, definitely.
To put it lightly.
Another battle, happening down here. 14th and 15th, Cameron Parrott is just there, getting passed by Alex Cattle in the number 25.
AWG car.
Closer to the front, the battle for 2nd, 3rd and 4th is still on, with the 2 Trans-Tasman racing cars sandwiching Luke Rosella.
Well, Luke going for the inside on Kurt Stenberg at turn 6.
Here is Kurt Stenberg.
There is, oh, you can see him trying to correct, and he's going to lose that position to both Luke Rosella and Ethan Warren. Oh, he's got a grimace on his face. He's
Luke's got the inside here, and he's dived down the inside. I didn't think he was going to do that. It's going to open up Kurt Stenberg to lose that position to his teammate in Ethan Warren. As they go down this sort of little switch, we need to see the 2 Trans-Tasman cars. Who's come out ahead? It's Ethan Warren, who muscled his way onto the inside, but Kurt Stenberg's fighting back. We had a little bit of a swapper. You saw his hand have to sort of correct as the car slid sideways a little bit, and that has cost him quite a few car lengths as Ethan Warren puts pressure on Luke Rosella for that 2nd place finish, trying to make it a 1-2 for the Warren brothers in race 1 and 2. Cops a bit of grass, does Kurt Stenberg.
Yep, he's just losing touch a tiny bit, although Ethan Warren looking up the inside at the exit, but that's going to quickly evaporate as Luke Rosella holds onto that second place. Nearly 4 seconds now the gap for Dane Warren. This is all academic now. As Ethan Warren dives down the inside of turn 5, it's an awkward series of corners because then the next corner, the opposite side is the inside. Luke Rosella holds onto it, forces Ethan Warren wide. He's going to run him out of track, and he does. Holds onto the inside, going into this right-hander. Left-hander, right angle left-hander. My goodness. There is Luke Rosella. He's loving it on your picture-in-picture. What an excellent
He's
battle
got a great smile on his face, so the fact that he's currently second is definitely cause for happiness for Luke Rosella as Ethan Warren gets back past Kurt Stenberg. My goodness, he's going to look in his mirrors and he's going to see a Trans-Tasman car in each one.
Yeah, it's a little bit intimidating.
Just a bit.
As Kurt tries to go down the inside at the last corner, so he's going to have to get nice and tight to that apex. Blocks Ethan Warren at the exit. Very well done, and he's going to get a bit of slipstream for his trouble behind Luke Rosella. Ethan Warren, though, is right on his bumper and might have a go into turn 1.
Yeah, I think he will. If not 2. Try and set it up. If Kurt Stenberg wants to hold on to that position, he'll go to the inside, but it's actually Luke Rosella going to the inside, and he brakes a lot earlier than Kurt does, but it's very hard to keep your car around the outside of turn 2. If you can, it puts you in a good position for turn 3.
Oh, and something's gone wrong for Dane Warren because he is now less than a second ahead of Luke Rosella.
Yeah, he had a bigger gap there, so it looks like he's had some sort of issue.
Oh, yep, looks like at the turn 2 hairpin, perhaps.
Yeah, he's gone a bit wide, although that was his natural line anyway. No, he had a bigger gap. It's happened. Oh, you follow the action, I'll find it.
Yep, so Kurt Stenberg has managed to get through on Luke Rosella, as has Ethan Warren. And they are all over each other now. Dane Warren only, well, the gap is academic. And in fact, Kurt Stenberg is alongside Dane Warren. They bump doors as they head down towards the last corner, and Dane Warren loses those positions to the 2 Trans-Tasman drivers.
That's really weird. Dane didn't seem to have one big issue. It looks like he's just slowed down. So whether he's trying to make it interesting for himself or he's got some other issue that means he has to slow down.
Unless he's trying to eke out these tyres for the entire race, perhaps.
He still has to make a pit stop at some point.
Still has to make a pit stop, but if he can stop for just fuel and no tyres, that would save quite a bit of time. Stop driving for 19 laps on the same set of tyres.
Here we go.
A bit dicey, though.
2 Trans-Tasman cars in the lead of the race are battling each other. And Kurt Stenberg holds on. Ethan Warren had a bit of a look there. Ethan wants to become the second Warren brother to win a race tonight.
We saw that he had Kurt Stenberg's measure in the first race. Was able to overtake him on track, on merit. Kurt Stenberg, oh, Ethan trying to go down the inside of turn 6. But Kurt manages to hold on to it on this particular occasion into the right angled left-hander. I did it.
You did it. We did it, Reddit.
We did it, Reddit. Kurt managing to hold on to the lead for the time being. Luke Rosella keeping a watching brief on this as well. Behind them, a bit of a gap has formed between Luke Rosella and Thomas McMillan.
Dane sticking his nose in there. That's just given Kurt a bit of breathing space momentarily. Time will tell just how long that lasts, but Kurt gets to feel what Dane felt like a bit earlier on in this race, with an opportunity to just put his head down and eyes forward for
doesn't have to worry about
however
someone
long that lasts.
Tapping on his bumper throughout most of the course.
Jared Filsell, Thomas McMillan and Colin Warwick aren't too far behind this battle.
What's happened to... Oh, Corey McFarlane and Kobe Williams both DNF'd. So we saw Kobe.
Oh, dear.
Corey McFarlane, I was wondering where he was. So he has DNF'd at some stage. Not sure if that was a technical issue or what. We'll see if we can find it. Dane Warren going down the inside of his brother at turn 2.
Hans Brunswick is in the pits.
Doesn't look like he's going to be able to get that job done. Ethan has the inside for turn 3. And indeed, he does. And holds on to that position. With Dane Warren all over the back of him going into turn 4. Kurt not clearing off into the distance here.
Yeah, and we didn't think that he would. I think really he's got that gap by virtue of them battling each other a bit. whatever happened to Corey McFarlane, it's happened quite a long time ago, unfortunately. So apologies to Corey, we missed that. Hopefully...
Lap 3 by the looks of it. So
Yeah,
quite a while ago.
Yeah, it's about 5 laps ago. So it was all kicking off at that stage. And whatever happened to Corey, hopefully, well, it's no consolation, of course, to him, but hopefully it was not caused by one of the other drivers. Hopefully it was just a connection issue. But if it was a connection issue, let's hope it's not one that recurs during the year for him. We saw Luke Rosella fall foul of a connection issue in the race before this one.
So Ethan Warren chasing after Kurt Stenberg once again as we start lap 9. Kurt Stenberg managing to keep it nice and tidy through turn 1. We just saw one
Alex
of the...
Cattle's coming in, and he was battling with Jared Filsell, who's down in 11th place for some reason. So that's a lot further down than he was. So he's had a spin probably, or an off-track excursion.
Well, him and Thomas McMillan were on the same piece of track, so of course one of them has had a spin.
Just saw Thomas McMillan swapping positions with Benjamin Dahlia on the screen. So there's all sorts of stuff going on, and this is the reason why that was happening by the looks of it. He's got a bit of a train in front of him with 2 of the AWG cars and one of the ZB cars, which is driven by David Nenadich. Oh, and there goes Sean Allen.
No, Benjamin Dahlia, I believe.
I had a 1 in 3 chance of getting that right.
Well done.
Yes.
So that looked like it was mostly self-inflicted. I don't think Thomas actually touched him.
Let's see if we can catch a replay.
A little bit of an awkward accident by the looks of it. Yeah, it looks like it was...
There wasn't contact, as far as I can tell.
Pretty much already happening. At the front, Kurt Stenberg still in the lead.
It's come down a bit. I think they're working together a bit more. Well, Kurt's in the pits, and so too
is Luke
Rosella. So Dane and Ethan, the 2 brothers, remaining on track.
We are left with the Warrens.
That was fortuitous timing to see that happen.
It was very well race directed, sir.
And Thomas McMillan is also coming into the pits.
Oh, Dane just caught right up on Ethan at the exit of turn 1.
Filsell joining Thomas McMillan and someone else in a red and white car that I couldn't quite see because my eyes are not what they were.
Very, very different lines through.
Oh, it's the ever-present Tim Hortons car.
Of course it is.
Driven by
it's
Cameron
ever-present.
And then Benjamin Dahlia, I think, as well, coming in behind him as we watch this battle for the lead between the 2 Warren brothers. All sorts of shenanigans going on in the pits. It's poor Cameron Parrott's had to reverse to get back into his pit box, unfortunately, as we rejoin Thomas McMillan onto the track. Back at the front. Ethan Warren holds on to the lead from Dane Warren.
Dane right on his bumper throughout this entire lap. Caught up a huge amount in turn 2, but hasn't been able to make a pass through any of the following 9 corners. And we've got Pratt recovering to the track in the Dare iced coffee.
Ethan looks like he's coming in, and Dane is staying out.
Dane continuing on, so we'll see what that strategy call will be for Dane when he does come in.
Well, Dane, if anyone, has the pace on old tyres potentially to get clear, and then if he goes to new tyres, assuming he does change tyres, he will be very hard to beat towards the end of the race.
Where are they coming out? Kurt Stenberg down in 5th place at the moment. So he will have, at the moment, we would expect would have a provisional lead of the race.
Yeah, where is he now? He's still about 13 seconds away from Ethan Warren, who's already on the move in the pits. So
Ethan does have a fair way to go.
Gap is coming down, 6 seconds, 5 seconds, 4 seconds. It's going to be very, very close, but I think Ethan's going to have it ever so slightly. But when Kurt arrives, he's going to have very, very fresh tyres. But Ethan is far enough ahead. There he is.
You can see them converging on the same bit of tarmac. Kurt will have warmer tyres for this lap, but I reckon Ethan's done a very good job there.
Yeah,
getting the overcut.
I think Kurt would be very disappointed to see the sister car of Ethan Warren come out in front of him just then. because I think what he would have been, his best opportunity would be to get the undercut and then defend like hell till the end of the race.
And then, of course, Dane Warren coming into the pits on our other screen. So, remains to be seen how this shakes out for Dane Warren. So,
well, Dane Warren, how polished is his pit stop going to be?
Kurt Stenberg and Ethan just coming down into the last hairpin as we speak, just as Dane Warren comes to a stop in his box. So, oh, and we've got a drive-through penalty for David Enedich.
Oh no, that's the first drive-through penalty of the year.
It's a distinction David Enedich probably would be happy not to have.
Doesn't want to have that, but he does.
Dane Warren on the move as Ethan Warren and Kurt Stenberg are coming out of the final corner. So they begin their run down as Dane Warren is just exiting the pits now. This is going to be close. I think the Trans-Tasman guys have it though.
You reckon? Are they going to pop through?
No, never mind.
Dane Warren has done it, and only just. That was perfect from Dane Warren.
You can see how the arrival speed of those Trans-Tasman cars.
They got warm tyres, so this is their best opportunity.
Ethan knows it.
He's going to strike while the iron's hot. He has to. If he doesn't, then Dane Warren could drive off into the sunset, even though the sunset occurred quite a few hours ago.
Ethan trying to go around the outside at turn 7, not going to work.
Trying to drive around the outside here.
Definitely not going to work.
Down the inside here, can't get his nose up alongside. In the live chat, we've got Michael Zalavari, who likes the font that I've used for the live timing, so thank you very much, Michael Zalavari. Good to see Mr. Walshy. Reminding, or letting Zalavari, or Floodman, know that we would have, that we were asking for his pit reporting nous before. They needed a higher IQ, that's true. Couldn't think of the word nous. And hi to Minardi Fan 95, otherwise known as Brody Steen, who says that he couldn't make an appearance in race 2, unfortunately. Just got home. So we didn't get to see his AWG car
Ethan Warren trying to go around the outside of turn 1, not going to work. But he's going to set himself up for a dive down into turn 2, I would expect.
The two TTR guys teaming up on Dane Warren here. Can they do it? Yes. Can they work together here? They really need to be ahead of him to make that sort of strategy work. If Ethan was ahead of Dane and could back up Dane into Kurt.
Well, I suppose if Kurt is happy to bump draft Ethan Warren, but he's not close enough.
Oh, Sean Allen gets the second drive-through penalty of the year.
Not quite the distinction of the first, but still early on.
We've done so well. We got through that first race with 2 pit stops for 22 drivers, although some of them didn't get all of their pit stops in.
In theory, 44 pit stops and no speeding penalties.
And, well, once we get to the second race, not so.
Everyone's losing their touch a
little bit harder. It's slightly different lighting conditions, so your braking points that you've picked from the first race aren't quite as easily distinguishable as they were earlier on. The Warren brothers are dropping Kurt ever so slightly on this lap.
Yeah, Ethan right on the bumper of his brother.
He still spies a win potentially here.
6 laps to go, and he's not dropping away from Dane Warren, it must be said.
It must be said.
So
we haven't really talked about the other cars, but Colin Warwick's doing well in 4th place, ahead of Luke Rosella. Not too far ahead, though. We'll keep an eye on that, and if it changes place, we'll be sure to let you know. Oh. I've made a promise there that I'm bound to miss now, as we watch this scintillating battle for the lead between the 2 Warren brothers, making their return into this series.
Doesn't seem to be able to get enough pace coming out of turn 1 to have a dive down into turn 2, which I think is his best opportunity. Unless he has a Hail Mary dive down into one of these right angle corners.
Do you think he's going to go for it if he has an opportunity, or will he play it safe here?
He's going to go for it, surely. I can't imagine Ethan Warren just sort of sitting back and going, nah, you have this one, bro.
Depends how much of an incentive Blair has given.
It's very true.
To Dane or Ethan.
All right, if you don't win this race, Ethan, you're sleeping in the shed.
I would have loved to sleep in the shed when I was a kid. Not that Ethan Warren is a kid. There's something exciting about it, you know.
Is there?
You know.
I'm not sure I agree.
That's where all the power tools are.
I could do so much drilling.
Oh, mate. Bedrooms are for drilling.
Not with a horse, though.
Oh, no, not Joel Garner. Fastest lap for Dane Warren, 27.2. So Ethan Warren can't have been that much slower on that lap. Let's have a look.
27.2 as well.
Top three all set their personal best laps.
Come on, Ethan. And he is, once again, isn't close enough. Right on the back of his brother as they go through turn 2, but not quite close enough to dive up the inside. And Kurt Stenberg, yeah, well and truly dropping behind this battle, about 2 seconds now, the gap. So Ethan, the Warrens just showing that they're in a class of their own.
Sorry to take you away. We'll if there is a change of position for the lead, we will try and cut to it.
No.
But I just want to show you what's happening. Thomas McMillan and Jared Filsell once again locking horns, and potentially the beneficiary once again is Hans Brunswick, who's just looming in the back of that shot. So he's very, very close behind. So we'll keep an eye on that. Alex Cattle not too far behind, and then quite a big gap to Dane Liccardo. These guys just 5 seconds shy of Zach Baker. Back to the lead.
Yeah, Hans Brunswick just, I remember the last time this happened. It was good.
It was good. It wasn't so good for Benjamin Dahlia, and he's down in 13th place. So he's a bit further back than he was in race 1, although he was not quite able to benefit in the way that Hans Brunswick was. Didn't capitalise.
Oof, Dane once again moving the goalposts, and Ethan now beginning to drop back 0.3 of a second between the two of them.
So the other battle on track that is shaping up right now is Luke Rosella, who's caught up to Colin Warwick. We think Colin Warwick might have done something similar to what he did in the first race with tyres, in which case he will struggle in these last 3 laps. But he's got himself track position. These two splendid cars with similar colour schemes, it has to be said. Luke Rosella going up the inside at turn 2, and he's going to try and drive around the outside of turn 3. And anyone who does that has my eternal respect, but he hasn't quite managed to move it. Switches to the inside. Gutsy
movement there for Luke Rosella. It might come up for him, but Colin Warwick still got the inside for the next corner and holds onto that position. That was some very aggressive car control from Luke Rosella.
Great racecraft. And Colin Warwick equal to the task on what we think are aging tyres. But once again, Colin Warwick is a fantastic driver who can defend against the best of them.
He really has come along in his driving ability. Colin Warwick, that is.
Blair Warren has emerged in the track. He's watching along. Good to have you along with us, Blair. And he says, hey guys, some close racing tonight. They are back.
They are indeed.
They certainly are. It looks like Dane Warren has broken the back of Ethan Warren just ever so slightly. He now enjoys a 1.1 second gap over his brother Ethan Warren as we rejoin the battle for 4th place as Luke Rosella is going down the inside of Colin Warwick. Colin Warwick didn't really have an answer to that. Will he fight back? I think there was a bit of front to rear contact there as Luke Rosella's car just snapped sideways ever so slightly. Let's rejoin him as he has just gained that position. Zach Baker in the back of shot there. Zach Baker might relieve Colin Warwick of that position too.
Yeah, a good 7th place finish for Zach Baker in the first race. So a 6th at the moment, or possibly a 5th if he can get that one from Colin Warwick, would be a very good return for race number 2. Luke Rosella seeming to drop Colin Warwick now that he's gotten past him. I think you might have been dead right there, Stairs. Colin Warwick with the same tyre strategy just seems not to be able to keep up with the cars around him.
Yeah, and Zach Baker now is lapping about a second a lap faster than Colin Warwick, so one would think that shouldn't be too difficult for Zach, although there are only 2 laps remaining at the end of this lap, so Colin Warwick might fancy his chances to hang on to that.
No. Dane Warren just flashing the lights at Brapp and Sean Allen, who are battling ahead of him.
Brapp gets out the way, good job there, and I can't imagine Sean Allen's going to make it too difficult either.
Well done. Brap might actually sneak through there.
Nearly well done. If he can do it without losing the position, it's a splendid job from Sean Allen, and I think he has managed to do that. So good racing all round.
Ethan Warren now has to negotiate them. Has already got past Brap. And on our other screen,
gets through Alex Cattle as well.
Zach Baker still on the back of Colin Warwick. Wasn't able to make that position on the previous lap.
Well, he's running out of opportunities. He's only got a lap and a half left. So I call that it might be easy for Zach Baker, but as this race draws to a close, it might end up being increasingly difficult for Zach Baker. So this race is very rapidly entering its final stages. We haven't really had too much of an opportunity to catch up with too many other people, but I can tell you that Hans Brunswick has caught up to Jarrett Filsell, but hasn't been able to make that position. Alex Cattle in behind him. Thomas McMillan seems to have lost out. He's two or so seconds behind. Dane Liccardo's having a bit of a lonely old race in 11th place from Benjamin Daly and Turmo. And then we've got Cameron Parrott in the ever-present Canadian Tire Tim Horton's car. And then behind him is Ben Hall, RSM Latino, and Colin Warwick. The remaining guys on the lead lap, Sean Allen, Brap, and David Nedich.
Zach Baker doesn't seem
Two of those having got the drive-through penalties in the race.
Or else to call him Zap Baker.
Zap Baker. Zap Baranigan.
Doesn't seem to have...
Oh, his tyres have given up.
Oh, there you go. That was a freebie for Zach Baker. I was just about to say he doesn't seem to have the straight line speed.
I think his rears are gone. Backing it in, the rears locked up, and that was nothing Colin Warwick could do about that. It just didn't save quite enough. If the race was one lap shorter, it would have been an absolute blinder, just like in the first race where he measured it perfectly. The question here is whether he can hold on to it. He's got a lead over Jarrett Filsell of 11 seconds, now a lead over Hans Brunswick. So Hans Brunswick looks like he's got that position over Jarrett Filsell. So we'll see if we can just catch a replay of that before the end of the race, which is coming up very, very rapidly indeed. But here it is. Looks like he went down at the inside, and we rejoin to watch Dane Warren winning the race. A fantastic job from Dane Warren to make it back-to-back victories in tonight's proceedings. And he wins the race from his brother, Ethan Warren, making it a 1-2.
Once again, so 2 1-2s for the Warrens.
And the same podium in both races as Kurt Stenberg brings up third place for the second time running. Great job from him as well.
Luke Rosella's going to bring home 4th after a disappointing DNF in the first race. He'll be happy with that. Zach Baker in 5th, very well done. And Colin Warwick holds on to 6th place. So very, very good return on investment there for Colin Warwick.
Jarrett Filsell is being pushed by Thomas McMillan. Is he out of fuel, or is that just... No, it looks like they still have their own power. They've come across the line, so it's nothing to be concerned about. Now, Hans Brunswick ended up losing the position to Jarrett Filsell in the end, so I'm not quite sure what happened there. Must have been, while we were watching the replay of him splendidly passing Jarrett Filsell, he must have lost the position subsequently, so that's easy come, easy go.
That's 2 8th positions for Hans Brunswick, which nothing to sneeze at.
Could have been 7th. Could have been 7th, but a great job from him. Thomas McMillan in 9th and Alex Cattle rounding out the top 10. Dane Liccardo, I believe he finished 11th in the first race as well.
Very consistent.
Consistent. Benjamin Dahlia in 12th. And we had Turmo finishing in 13th ahead of the ever-present Canadian Tire Tim Horton's Cameron Parrott car, which gains syllables every time I mention its name. Ben Hall in 15th. Then we had RSM Latino, Steve Warwick, Sean Allen, Brap, and David Nenadich. The last of our 20 finishes. 2 DNFs, just like the first race.
Those drive-through penalties really just mauled Sean Allen and David Nedadich's races.
Yeah, they sure did.
That's a shame.
It's a shame. That definitely is a shame.
That's a shame.
So, we now have a bit of an opportunity to decompress a little bit. Hopefully we'll get a chance to chat to our race winners in a short period of time.
just take a breath. What a excellent couple of races we've had tonight, Stairs.
Yeah.
Good return.
Thanks to everyone for jumping in and joining us for our first race of the year. We can't wait to continue in much the same vein. If tonight's action is anything to go by, we are very much looking forward to the rest of this 12-round series culminating in the Gold Coast. And it looks like the Discord channel for Race On Oz has now changed its name to AWG to reflect the team name change. So everything happening on the fly.
I believe I mentioned that during the broadcast. So perhaps I assisted by pointing that particular issue out.
Potentially, that's right.
Potion Charlie. Oh my gosh.
All right, well, we're starting to see some drivers come into the broadcast. And Madbird, looks like we've got our third place getter in both races in Kurt Stenberg jumping in. And we're just got to get the sound working so that that he can hear us. Madbird?
Yes, indeed. We do indeed. Into the broadcast chat we go. And Kurt Stenberg, can you hear us? I don't believe he can.
Doesn't look like he can, so...
It's not ideal.
It's the first day of school, ladies and gentlemen. Some of our buttons aren't quite working. Let's try this.
There we go.
Can you hear us?
No, it doesn't. Oh,
I know what I've done. So apologies to those watching a
ladies and gentlemen,
radio show for the few moments. Now can you hear us, Kurt Stenberg?
There we go. Very good. Well, very, very consistent first round back for yourself, Kurt, in the number one. Definitely better than the first round in the number one in 2020. 2 third place positions. How'd you find the night, mate?
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. That's where we wanted to finish. P3, we knew it was tough competition out there. I kind of expected I was going to be around 5, 6 to be honest, but P3 was the goal and we delivered, so
hang on.
Pretty close to those boys in front as well.
1 second, I've just just getting some issues with the audio, so let me just route that through somewhere else. Apologies, Kurt. We'll bear with us. It's the first day of school, as I've just mentioned to our listeners. Let me try something else here through there. Madbird, keep talking while I press buttons, and then we'll ask that question of Kurt once more.
Yep. So there's a lot of setup that obviously goes into these broadcasts, and you know, we've had a computer change. We've had a few things that we've had to mess with. So
right, give that a go.
I reckon we might be good to go. Kurt, say us some words, brother.
Hello.
I think we've got that. All right.
Fantastic.
Apologies for that. We are back in business.
You were saying about the fact that you thought you were around third place sort of mark. I'm surprised by that. I would have thought that you would have hoped to be on the top step of the podium tonight. That's fair enough. They do seem to be in a little bit of a class of their own, the Warren brothers. Are you concerned about the season going forwards? Do you think you'll be able to take the fight to them as the season goes on, or do you think that you're going to be sort of sitting around that third place the majority of the time? Yeah, we were talking about the field. A lot of class in the field. So some very, very quick drivers at the top who are up and coming, like your Luke Rosellas and your Corey McFarlanes. So I reckon it's going to be some pretty tasty battles throughout the season.
And bit of banter and battles, but once we got out there in the race, everybody was going hard out. No one was giving an inch. Everybody wanted to win the thing, so it's interesting.
Definitely. And congratulations again, Kurt, on your two podium finishes tonight. And cross fingers, we're going to see you on the podium a lot more this season.
No worries. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Kurt, and apologies to our viewers for some intermittent sound issues during that interview, and my apologies to Kurt for that as well. A bit of finger trouble, something wrong with the spacer between the seat and the computer. So we are now joined by the two Warren brothers, Madbird. So Ethan and Dane, great to see you guys back and on the podium in the series. And Ethan, of course, we saw you in last year's Bathurst 1000 and coming back to the series in the main game regular nightly races and starting off pretty well with 2 second place finishes, Ethan.
Yeah, it's great to be back, and the whole series has definitely got much more competitive, as you can tell. Those top sort of 6 guys are just really quick, and you definitely have to be on your game now.
Yeah, I mean, the first 10 laps or so of that first race was absolutely frenetic. It looked like you couldn't make a single mistake or you'd lose 2 or 3 spots.
Yeah, that's it. I can't really remember what happened in that race, to be honest, so I can't comment too much, but the battles were pretty hectic tonight. Yeah,
definitely. And we saw in the second race, it looked like you and Kurt could potentially have got a bit of an undercut on Dane, but he just came out the pits in front of you. What was your mindset at that time?
Yeah, obviously when I came out behind, I knew the first lap of tyres is always not as quick, so I just had to try and get past on the first lap, but I couldn't make that happen, so I just tried my best, but in the end I couldn't keep up. Well,
nonetheless, a fantastic opening to your campaign and good points for Trans-Tasman Racing. Thanks for joining us, Ethan.
Thanks, guys.
And Madbird, our race winner, Dane Warren.
Double race winner, Dane Warren, in his dominant return. Freaking up pretty much as you left off in season 2020, Dane. Congratulations very much on your 2 top steps tonight.
Hi, thanks. It's very good to be back finally. I can't remember why I missed races last year, but yeah, I love this game so much compared to the other sim that we play full time, so it's good to be back.
Which shall remain unnamed.
Yeah, I won't name it. I won't name it especially after this weekend, so it's good to be back.
And just, you seem to, as we saw in 2020, you seem to sort of be on another level, but especially early on in that first race when Luke got the jump on you, you seem to have your work cut out for you to take that lead back and then to hold on to it.
Yeah, honestly, the first laps were tonight like 15 minutes before official practice, and I was struggling so much with setup, I had no idea what I was doing, and then I lucked into a setup from 2020, and we gained quite a lot of time, so I wasn't expecting to have that much pace over Luke and the others. Just sort of played it lap by lap and saw what happened, and turned out to be pretty good.
Yeah, I guess a little bit like riding a bike. It might be a different sim, but it all comes back to you eventually. So
that's it.
And then in the second race, we saw you had quite a lead, and then it sort of suddenly evaporated. Was that you easing off a little bit to make things interesting, or did you have an issue, or what was going on?
Ignition issue.
I hate it when that happens.
Airbox fire. It cleared itself up,
Yeah, thank God for that.
yeah.
That was fortuitous.
But, very. we're so lucky to have that self-stimulated AMS. But yeah, no. That certainly made the race a bit more interesting, but I was really shocked to see that we came out in front of Kurt and Ethan. Like,
Yes.
I thought for sure that I would have lost the lead.
Yeah, we
Just-
were expecting them to. We were expecting the TTR guys to take the lead during the pit stops as well. But you had a pretty comfortable lead coming out, enough to, for them not to be able to get it on cold tires. So, some interesting pit strategy calls must have been happening tonight.
Well, it's just a CPS and 5 litres of fuel, which is easily covered by the tyres, so I don't know. There must have been something happening on the outlap. I heard good old Tom McMillan caused a bit of trouble himself, so yes, no doubt it's down to that.
Why am I not
Potentially.
surprised?
It could have been that magic setup that you stumbled upon. Just got some of your records in front of me that still stand from your championship year in 2020, Dane. The 126.285 that you set in one of the races withstood us visiting this racetrack 3 times last year. So, and that's still your record as of tonight. So well done on finding that setup, because it obviously put you in good stead.
Yeah, 126.2 from 2020.
Correct.
That's right.
God, that sounds insane to me.
So even Dane Warren impresses Dane Warren there.
Yeah, I'm not doing that anytime soon.
Well, as we said, congratulations again, Dane, on your 2 wins and a very worthy return to the series. It's great to have you back, mate.
Yep, thanks. Great to be back, of course, and obviously good to hear you guys again on broadcast. So, yeah, thanks for having me.
Well, thank you, Dane. Thank you as well to Ethan Warren and to Kurt Stenberg and to all of our drivers for putting on such a fantastic show. We of course, didn't get to show as much of everyone else as we would have liked to, but there was such a scintillating battle at the front that we
We were spoiled.
were spoiled for choice. Didn't know where to look at quite a few moments during that race, Madbird.
Yeah, absolutely.
During both of those races.
It's a good problem to have, having 2 medal battles to focus on, and I imagine there were plenty of stories that we missed throughout both those races of very, very tight battles. We saw a few glimpses, especially Dane Liccardo we saw in both races having some good scraps, and Hans Brunswick. So I imagine that hopefully moving forward through the season we're going to have the same proclivity of battles.
That's right.
throughout the
So
field.
we have got 3 weeks until our next championship round in Simmons Plains, which is on the 28th of March.
Always an entertaining track.
Is that 3 weeks or 2 weeks? 3 weeks. I was right the first time. So that's always a little bull ring, so can't wait for that one. Do join us. We'll be broadcasting at the same time. And we will see you then. Thanks for watching.
See you later.